Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening. My name is Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio here tonight, and we are going to get into UFOs, UAP, disclosure, Chinese balloons, aliens, extraterrestrials, ET contact with one of my favorites, Lorien Fenton, who is here tonight on the big show, and we are going to have a great show for all of you tonight. And we are having a little bit of tech issues with Lorien, but we've got it figured out. We can make this show happen, and that is always good. All of you are here as well, which is always a beautiful, beautiful surprise. Let's start off with Race Fan in the gold medal position. We have Stochastic Toasty, brand new, with a silver medal. Penny Van taking home the bronze medal tonight, which is absolutely awesome. Now let's say hello to all of you. Roy Boy, Sandy B, Kurt M, Nancy Hayes. How you all doing? And there's our man Hadley. Good to see you. Mama Susan, thanks for coming in early. Steam Train Mark in Australia, thank you for letting me know I am alive tomorrow in the future. All right, moving on. Luscious Jewels. I am Pam. Is going to be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. I am Pam, by the way. Panic Boy, welcome to SOR Chat. And let's see who else do we have here. We have our good friend. Lorien, can you hear me now from the microphone on this side? Just give me a nod. Perfect. All right. Nikki in Seattle. Thin Lizzie. Yay! How are you? All right. And hey, Manitoba Becky. They call her the Wheat Queen in Brandon. Yes, they do. Wow, haven't seen you in a couple months. How are you? Hi, Chris. Teen, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. Evan Walters, you're pissing me off already. Pissing me off. All right, how you doing, buddy? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. My man Millennium, Brown Dwarf, Friend of Squirrel, how you doing? Friend of Squirrel will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Pam Smith, nice to see you. Hi, Michael Fontaine, Grandizer, Super Duke. How you doing, buddy? Dark Protocol, thanks for coming on in. And Pam Harris, nice to see you. Hi, Mac Geek. And who else do we have here? Let's take a look. Deb from SAC, nice to have you here. Hello, Beachy. How are you, my friend? And the lovely Kira, good to see you here. Sensational Sherry, Mark Ellens, good to have you both here. And there's Jeff Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. Worsley, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Mothwing. How you doing? Linda Bennett, thanks for joining us. As we continue on with roll call, D. Cohen, Nancy Thomas, Richard Minnick, Chillgasm, Ivan 007. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. All right, we got just a minute to go. We're going to get Bill WD40 into the Spreaker chat room to lube us on up for tonight's show. W. David Page, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you. Hi, Science Bob. How you doing, buddy? Richard Elmore, how you doing? And let's see, who else do we have here? Digger Dog, good to have you here. We Runa Farms, Pixie Lara, thank you for joining us. Man, this chat room is moving. Renee BK, how you doing, bud? good to see you. And we are running out of time. We got 30 seconds. Can I do it all? I don't know, but we're going to try. Serpent, nice to have you back again. Justin T, thank you for joining us. Hey, River Dogma, good to see you. Chairman Meow, I am Pam. Lala, thank you for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciate it. And we got 16 seconds. Can we do this? And B, Ed Clater. And I don't think we're going to do it. I don't think so. But we're going to give it a good call. Let's try. Kathy Evans and Cat Chaser, thank you so much for the super chat. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show for you tonight. When it comes to conspiracy, my good friend Lorien Fenton, she knows the woo from the who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's why we got her in here tonight to talk to UFOs and everything else under the sun. And from there, in hour 3, we got the Swamp Dweller checking on in with another story from the swamp. Little Timmy Senor will be here for the UFO report. And, of course, a little bit of random guy in overtime. Now, I never really write an intro for Lorien Fenton because I just love going with off the cuff with her. That's the way our conversations have gone since day one. Lorien is literally one of the most important people in my life when it comes to UFOs. She is a hero, a mentor, somebody who I can use as a research partner. If I need knowledge or questions answered, she is who I turn to. Why? Well, she's been doing this for like 30 plus years. And she knows everybody. She talks to everybody. She's connected in all sorts of worlds, from government to insiders to secret space program, everything along the line. So who better to talk a little bit of Chinese balloons, radar, U.S. airspace, Canadian airspace, than with my good friend Lorien Fenton from UFOCon 2023. And Lorien, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I love you, my dear. Thank you for coming on the show.
I get so embarrassed when you talk to me. I when you introduce me, I just turn all red. See how red I'm getting? Oh my God. Dave, what am I going to do with you? It's like having a fanboy.
I am a fanboy. I have been a fanboy since day one. And you know what? I to this day, and I know you hate it when I say this. I know you hate it. But I'm gonna tell the audience this again.
Okay.
If it wasn't for you, I don't think Spaced Out Radio would be anywhere close to where we are today, because you have helped create this image of me that is very well known out there, very well respected, and it all started with you. And for whatever success that I have, I really feel that I owe you that much love and gratitude back.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. Now, I don't even know how you found me in the first place, but you did call me and say I'm doing this thing, and I just said, be careful. I think that was the first thing I said to you, is be careful, because you never know who's lurking out there. I mean, it's been a wild ride, hasn't it? I mean, think of all the people that have come and gone, and that we've, it's kind of like, oh my God. it's an interesting world. Ufology, conspiracy, the JFK world I live in, all of them have their moments where you kind of wonder, how infiltrated are we really? And it's got to be a lot, because strange things happen to all of us.
Oh, I know. I know. One of my insiders recently got a phone call. And
Oh,
yeah, what are you doing on this spaced out radio show? Well, I now know officially because Rick Doty had the former or current spy, CIA, whatever, had told me
right.
like 3 years ago. He's like, Dave, there's like 6 people who listen to your show nightly the minute you start talking UFOs and stuff. There's minimum 6 people in DC nightly. And I try and take that stuff with a grain of salt. But after my friend got the phone call, I will just say this. I am now confirmed that everything of mine now is probably tapped in. And I have recently had malware on my computer. Maybe they put that on there as a little thank you note. I don't know, but hey,
I think I told you this our first conversation. I said, if you do anything in this field, just be ready that they're going to monitor you. And I don't mean they're following you, or they're going to do anything to you, but they're going to monitor you. I'll never forget the night I was sitting there. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. It was about 2 months into my radio show. And I looked up at my monitor and my mouse was moving around and it was opening up files. And they were all the UFO conspiracy, super soldier files, all these things. And they were just all being opened and copied. And I just thought, you know what? If they can do that when I'm just sitting right here watching them, what's the point of fighting this? So for months after that, I would get on the phone and I'd say, "Hi guys, I hope you're making a good living off of listening to me every day." Things like that. Because what's the point, right? I mean, hey, look, since cell phones came out, we can't hide anymore. There's nowhere we can hide.
oh, very true. Very
Yeah.
true. And
And
I just, one of the things that really gets me going here over this last week and a half that we have been following these Chinese drones and the stories that are going on is I have been geeking out, Lorien, because this is really my first time in this field really watching espionage play out on social media and in the media and everything. And I've been like, you know what? I've got this insider here telling me this. I've got this insider. I got this insider. I got this insider. And I'm just having a blast here, knowing that, you hear Biden or the generals coming up to the podium and they're like, well, balloons and aliens and, your dirty left sock that you never found. They're talking all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there. That's not it. Trying to put it all together. I mean, this is a special time if you're a ufology nut for everything that is going on.
yeah, exactly. So now, what I heard through a couple of my sources was that one of them may actually have been a real UFO sighting, and that the other one was some type of, not they're calling it a hobbyist club balloon, but I think it was more like one of those big, you know, uh, inflatables from like a car yard, or something like that, that got away. I heard that the second one was that. I also heard that two of the other ones were actually maybe from China. They're not even sure. Hey, are they sure they even came from China? I'm not even
Yes.
sure. Oh, they are sure.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, they
they are.
admitted that they're theirs. Oh, right. Because
Well,
one of them thought,
go ahead.
yeah,
Finish
go
up.
ahead. Well, one of them, my friends thought one of them might have been Russian, actually. So they
Could have been.
weren't sure they were both Chinese. The two that they were for sure. They shot one down, and did they shoot the other one down over a lake, and they haven't been able to retrieve it?
Well, I mean, you would be able to retrieve it because the lakes up there would be probably 4 to 5 feet thick of ice, if not. Like you could land an airplane.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Yeah.
basically, they've got whatever they shot down. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're telling us that they may not be able to recover the one in Alaska and the one in the Yukon north of me. But I mean, how would they know what it is if they don't know? And the issue that I have with that company balloon, how come no company has released a statement saying, boys, you shot down our balloon. Will you be paying for this?
That's what I thought. That's the first thought I had, was if they shot down my balloon, I want reparations for it, or whatever they call it. I want payment. Where's my insurance money?
Exactly. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but what we are seeing from the people I talk to, I think what we've been seeing here is a real de-escalation game where,
Yeah.
look, out of anybody in this world that we do not want war with, it's China. Okay.
Oh,
Not
you bet.
not because that we can't take them out, that we're stronger, we're better looking. Okay. We have hockey or baseball and football. Okay. And we have all the latest toys. Well, you guys do down there. We just wave our flags like this. But the idea behind it is the economic collapse is more important than the actual hand-to-hand physical combat that could happen. So that's why I think what we saw was a real de-escalation of the entire phenomena. And that includes propaganda of what these are, like a business balloon, even though the business has never come out. Okay,
Exactly.
which will probably be some CIA fronted store or car lot, with some greasy lot lizard standing in front. Yeah, you guys owe me $1,200 for that balloon, man. Right? I mean, that's what I think
Well,
we see.
I think that the problem we got here with that business balloon is that it was way too high for a business balloon. Okay. What'd they say? It was at 28,000 feet or something. I'm like, they don't get that high. They just don't. They can't. If I remember correctly, if the helium, the physics, and all that, they're not getting up into that lower atmosphere. They're barely able to get up to, a couple thousand feet before they just kind of go downwards because of the coldness, because it deflates the balloon. I mean, that's what I thought. Am I wrong about this? Some science Bob will know. Science Bob will know.
Well, Science Bob right now is too busy looking for orbs in the sky with the lovely Lala Bright right now. He's got to, he told me he's got to find about 154 more before he can come to San Francisco for UFO Con 2023.
Oh my God. So he's going to bring that many with him?
He's going to
Is
put
he
them all in a
putting them
jar.
in the suitcase and dragging them along?
He's bringing them all in a jar in a nice petri dish. That's what he's doing. Just letting it all out there, Thank you, Science Bob, for doing that. Before we get too much more into the idea of
Well, before we change the subject, I want to talk a little bit about this whole thing about why we even allowed them to get over the United States, or even over Canada for that matter. I mean, we knew they were there. We have a base in Alaska that got them on radar, when they were coming over. And apparently, from what I understood, is that this happens a lot, that there are balloons that go over the North Pole. They keep going north. They don't come our direction. So, I don't know. I don't know why they waited until it all got all the way to Florida. That
well,
was nuts.
I think because the public actually saw them. According to my sources, they have been launching balloons on both sides. We've been sending them over there. They've been sending them here for well over 50, 60 years. It's a cheap way to get some cheap information and some confirmation rather than sending, a U-2 spy plane that costs, $35,000 an hour, or whatever replaced the SR-71 at maybe $100,000 an hour, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's
exactly.
a lot cheaper. You can buy a lot of balloons for $100,000, right? And so that's what I think it is. And I just love this whole cloak and dagger stuff. I mean, CIA, I know you're listening out there. I know you are. Okay. Remember, old Davey here, if you could get him a job on the Woo desk, yeah, he'd appreciate that. He would totally.
I can see you on the Woo desk. Oh my
Oh,
God, you'd have to wear a tinfoil hat.
oh,
It'd be great.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, anyhow, the whole thing, I find it amusing because really it makes no. I have friends that are freaking out about it here where I live. They're just literally freaking out. Oh, the Chinese are watching us and all this. I'm going like, and you didn't think they've been doing it for 50 or 60 years now? Come on, really? It's like I can't figure out how people are that, and I hate to say it, dumbed down because all of my military friends knew this was going on forever.
Oh,
You know,
mine too. Mine too. I mean, but the idea behind it is this, and a number of the topics that I want to get into with you tonight, it regards around the UFO side of this, because the UFO community went a little silly over this, and we'll get into that at
they
the
did.
at the bottom of the hour. But for you, I want to kind of change topics here quickly and spend a few
Sure.
minutes, because in just over a month here is UFO Con 2023 in San Francisco, California, an event that you have put on for years. And I've had the privilege of speaking at it 3 times now since 2018. And I'll be heading down to be one of your masters of ceremonies. And you have some great people coming down there like Melinda Leslie, Science Bob, Robert Perala, John Yost, Sev Talk, just to name a few. I mean, another brilliant lineup you have, Lorien. Another brilliant
Well,
lineup.
thank you. I mean, and we've got a lot of new people like Glenn Moore. I mean, Mark Len Moore. He's amazing. Now, I got to tell you the quick story about Mark, everyone. Mark came to my conference last year. He met Paul Hynek there, and they became kind of friends, and they've been emailing. And Mark finally admitted to Paul, I'm a major experiencer, and I went to Lorien's conference because, I just needed to be around other people like me. He had such a good time, and he's a businessman, and he makes presentations all the time at work. And he made a decision. He called me up. He said, I never spoken about my experiences to anybody before. I'm going to make a PowerPoint. Will you let me speak? And I said, of course I will. Why not? And he's a really interesting guy. I've had him on my radio show. Wonderful, wonderful information. And very excited to be presenting his story for the first time. And then we also have Barbara Eberhardt, who came to my MUFON meeting, about 2 years ago now. And she started telling me about she's 75 years old, and she just found out that she's been like a nanny on the ships taking care of the space babies. And she just figures this all out. She's just having all of her awakenings, and she's like, now she's almost 80, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I went my whole life and I didn't know until, just recently. And I started coming to your MUFON group, and everybody was so accepting and so wonderful. She hired a professional artist to help her build her PowerPoint presentation. And she says, this will be the only time I ever do this, but I want to do it right. And so she's going to tell her whole story. And it's an amazing story. I mean, it's just mind boggling. And then you guys all know who Deb Cobble is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Bud Hopkins' first person. What she's going to talk about, which she doesn't do very often, is all the things that happened after the Bud Hopkins stuff was going on. There was much, much more, and it was affecting most of her family, and it just goes on and on. I mean, it's like, people think you have an experience, and then maybe something doesn't happen for a long time, or maybe you have another little one, or something happens, but oh my God, she's been having major things happen her whole life, and the Bud Hopkins part was just a small piece of it. So she's going to tell about things that she's never really talked about before, which will be fascinating. And of course, Melinda, she's going to do all of our catch up on what the government's up to right now. So, she'll probably bring in the Wilson document and go from there forward, and, just keep us abreast of what's happening right up to the date of the conference. So that'll be fun.
I love it. And you know what? I mean, the hardest part of having Melinda Leslie speak is that you literally have to turn the microphone and the lights off in order to get her to stop at the end.
I know. And she's never all the way through because she's got 5 hours of material she tries to cram in 50 minutes, So God bless her soul, I couldn't come up with that much material, but she does. She's really good at that. So, and that's just an example. Yeah, you had John Yost on the show the other night, right?
No, we actually had to cancel that show.
Oh,
And the reason why is about 90 minutes before showtime, I actually had my power go out. There was
Oh
a
no.
car accident on the highway, and it was a truck versus telephone pole. Truck hit ice on the highway because our highways are terrible right now, and decided to take out the power for a few hours. And
Oh dear.
so, unfortunately, you need power in order to do the radio show. And for people who don't know, my radio studio is in my house. I have a radio studio built, like a lot of people do now. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get that out, but we have rescheduled him for the third or fourth week of March when he's available.
Okay. So
So
he'll be on hopefully before or right after the conference. It doesn't matter which, but he's got an amazing movie out, and it's only been seen in a few places, and his story is wonderful too. And he really did a great job of documenting his coming out in his movie about, you got, I don't know if everybody understands how difficult it is for most people, not for me, because I grew up being psychic and everybody in my family knew I was that, and it just was accepted in my family. So me seeing aliens or angels or women walking through my bedroom wall or things that are ghosts all the time, nobody ever thought about it in my family. I mean, I wasn't ostracized. And everybody that I talk to these days, they're all just starting to come out with their stories and realizing the power of their experience. And John did such a really good job of capturing that through his hypnotherapy in the movie, and it was very powerful. And I can't wait to play the movie. I've seen it once already, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's that good.
you know what? I got a funny story about John. Okay. And
Okay.
I was talking to him pre-show, getting ready for that night, and I look at him, I said, "Your phone number." I said, "Oh, you're from Pittsburgh," and he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Whereabouts?" He goes, "Well, I'm in one of the suburb communities." So I'm like, "Oh yeah." I said, "I got friends in Beaver County and Monaca and New Brighton and all this." He's like, "What?" He goes, "That's my strolling area, man." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "You know the bar Thursdays?" He goes, "I drink there all the time." And I'm like, "Do you remember ever seeing this Canadian flag up on the wall?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "That was mine." And
Oh my
he's like,
God.
I said, "I brought that for the bar." And he's like, "No way." And so we had this big conversation about this little bar in the middle of nowhere that both him and I have drank at.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. See what a close knit community we actually really are if we dig deep into it. We're all connected. There's no 7 degrees of separation like Kevin Bacon. I think we have a half a degree of connection. That's what we had to call it for ufology, you
Oh,
know?
oh yeah.
So anyhow, the conference is going to be fantastic, you guys. And I'm sorry I'm itching. It's just been really dry here, and we have to have the heat on because it's been down to 32 degrees every night. And so I'm just itchy. So, I'm just like, ah!
You know what I do at 32 degrees, Lorien? I
That's a
walk
balmy day for you, right?
I walk around in shorts. I walk around in shorts, Lorien. Yep. Well, I know some of our listeners are going, and people could go to UFOcon2023.com and get tickets there today. And you know what? We'll
And
be
I can give you guys a special code because Dave has a special code, and it's SPKR 23. Yeah, SPKR 23, and that'll get you in for $125.
excellent. And then we'll get to see Lorien in May for the SOR party in Vegas. Second half hour coming up. We're going to check out ufology, how ufology went haywire in this last 10 days. We'll be right back. All right. We're back.
Oh, good. Now I can cough.
Go right ahead.
I've been had some kind of weird cough going on the last few days, and I keep trying not to do it during the shows.
Oh, I know that feeling. Quickly here. Hi there, Thurston Howell III. Good morning, Body Tech. Zen2, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. And Pam Smith, thank you for that second or that super chat. Well, the first one was Pam H, and then this one, Pam Smith. All right, and who else has joined us here? I'm just whipping through the names. We got a lot of people here so far, so bear with me. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. You guys are cruising in the chat room tonight. Let's see.
What are they talking about in there?
Oh, just everything about you and I are talking about. They're talking about their day. Yeah, Kira, I wear shorts on cold days. Yes, I do. Uh-huh. Yes. Kira has instructed me. She's now my fashion designer, that I am no longer allowed to wear shorts when in public representing Spaced Out Radio. I must look more professional. So I'm taking her advice, and I am going shopping tomorrow to get some collared shirts and nice pants and new shoes and about 58 jackets, so yeah, because all my jackets are like flannel.
Well, let me just ask you a dumb question. You're up in 100 Mile House, right?
You've been here.
How many days do you walk around there representing Spaced Out Radio where everybody knows? I mean, do they care if you're in a pair of shorts?
I don't represent. Nobody knows my radio show in town except a few
They
people.
don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We'll keep it quiet then.
I don't need people knocking at my door. Zanamaya, welcome to SOR chat. Who else do we have here? Scrolling on down. Random guy. Juliana McGill, hello from Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Yes, go Broncos. Right there. Go Broncos. And everybody in Canada has their heart on Humboldt for the last few years, so that's okay.
If you say Humboldt, where I come from, it all means marijuana.
Yes. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Les Paul Holland in Australia. I bought a Dean VX guitar the other day. I did. Flying V from Dean.
Oh.
Yes, it's very nice.
Those are beautiful.
John Bucky, welcome. Wilfred Brimley, how's your diabetes? Let me know. Joseph Yanni, how are you? Mark Slivka, nice to see you. And you're in Humboldt, California. Okay, yeah, wrong Humboldt. Same flatland. So, let's see here. Matthew Godwin or Mothwing, how are you? No, I am not a socks and sandals guy, and no, I don't wear Birkenstocks. No. Give me some credit for that. All right. Although I do have Crocs. People.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Crocs.
I got them on right now. Look at this. Right there. Look at these ugly things. I didn't even paint them. They're the most comfy. These are my now, these shoes do not go out in public. Just so everybody knows, they are my walking around on hardwood floors, because my old house has that old hardwood floor in it. No, I don't wear them in public, but I am going to wear them in front of Kira just because I can. Oh, yes. Kira and her husband will be attending UFO Con.
Oh, God. She's going to be policing you, and you'll have to wear a suit the whole time.
No, I told her I'm not wearing a suit. My days of wearing slacks are over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't even
wear jeans?
I will wear a nice pair of jeans.
Okay. What do you wear for the game show? Are you going to wear something nice for the game show?
I will have something. I'll look sexy for you, Lorien. I will.
Okay.
I
know.
Kira's like, for the record, I have nothing against shorts, just not at conferences or business events. I love you, Kira. I do. Oh, she is awesome. Cosmic Depot, welcome to SOR chat. Margot, how are you? And I think we're caught up now. Super chatters, thank you to W. David Page, Lala, Cat Chaser, Laura, Deb, Nero, Bob, Pam H, Zen 2, and Pam S. Remember, tickets for UFO Con at ufocon.com or 2023.com.
Yeah, UFOCon2023.com.
Is that
And
amazing?
use your discount code, folks, SPKR.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in around the world, wherever you are. We appreciate you tuning us on in. That really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for allowing me into your ears. Reminder, if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, Google Play, and every major podcast network. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Longtime ufologist, author, researcher, conference promoter, Lorien Fenton is here with us tonight. She is from UFO Con and San Francisco, which takes place March 17th through 19th in San Fran. If you haven't been, you got to go. UFOCon2023.com is the place to get your tickets. Hi, Lorien. How are you?
I'm good. Now, don't forget that code because they get a big discount. It's SPKR 23.
23.
That's it.
SPKR 23. Get your code. Get your discount right now.
Yeah, get your discount. It's a Davey discount.
There you go. There you go. Hey, I want to get into ufology here for a little bit because I know you've been following, as everybody has, with what's going on. And this past 10, 12 days here, since the balloons and drones started popping up out of nowhere, it has really, really shaken ufology, from everything about disclosure to that the aliens are actually here and we're shooting down alien craft. I mean, when you look at everything here, I mean, what's your thoughts on the last 10, 12 days?
When this whole thing started, the very first one, they said it was a balloon. It was from China, whatever. And it made its way all the way across the country. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. We got espionage going on. We've been knowing about this forever. Okay. Then the second one happens, and then the third one, and then it just starts getting out of control. And then they're saying, like yesterday, oh, it's a UFO over Alaska. It's not a balloon, it's a UFO. And I'm like, okay, or 2 days ago. And I said, wait a minute. Now, are we just starting to wish that it was UFOs? What's going on here, folks? And I started looking into it, and I'm thinking, for a ufologist, this really should be a nothing burger, and we should be keeping people calm. But no, everybody on Twitter had to go crazy and say, oh my God, it's a UFO. What if it is a UFO and the government's not telling us and they're shooting it down? And, where's the MUFON Star team? I saw that coming across Twitter. I was laughing. I'm like, they're never going to see a UFO, okay? The government will be there long before the MUFON Star team, but that's another story. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, Dave, but to me, it was a nothing burger because they really weren't hiding anything and everybody saw it. I mean, it was like, I don't know. That the only one that could have been a UFO that we still have questions about is, like we were talking about, is that business balloon, whatever that was. Now that could have been a UFO, and we're still not getting the truth out of them. What have you heard about that one in particular?
I think that is another drone. The octagon-shaped one, that is a drone.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like I said earlier, the story of what happened, I don't believe will ever come out publicly because there is too much tension right now. And something like this could escalate the American people to get really upset and really force a really bad hand in going to war with China. And we don't need that to happen. And, I'm not trying to sound paranoid here or anything like that, but the fact is that's where we're at. I mean, we're seeing espionage being played out left, right, and center, both in the media and on social media and with these drones and balloons. Look, they're not going to tell us, what kind of technology these drones were using. They're not going to
That's
tell
right.
us. They're not going to tell us. They're going to make it sound these things sound as simplistic as possible. And that's why they have the best PR teams in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the thing about that, the octagon shaped one, I did see a picture of it, and I thought to myself that looked more like the drones that have self propulsion and that they are actually flown by somebody, whereas the balloons, they are flown and they've got power. They aren't as, like, there isn't a guy sitting in a box somewhere flying that like they would fly a regular drone. But that one looked like a regular drone. It looked like someone was just sitting behind a desk somewhere actually piloting that one. That's what was kind of disconcerting to me. It's like they're getting away with that high caliber of a drone. That's kind of scary. And what bothered me more than anything is the fact that ufology, instead of saying, hey, folks, this isn't our Billy Whack, we should be worried about it, it's a Chinese problem, it's a Russian problem, it's whatever it is, it's a government political problem, we all jumped on the bandwagon and said, oh no, it's got to be a UFO, and distracted people from the fact that this is important for our government and it's political. And that just, it's a waste of our time and energy when we know actually it is a military kind of espionage strike, if you want to call it that. And it bothered me. It bothered me ufology got involved in the first place.
Look, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that there are a number of us there who we want the aliens, man. We want the aliens. Bring
I
on the
know.
aliens wherever they are. Lorien needs some aliens. I need some aliens. You need some aliens. We'll get you some aliens. Okay, what do you want? Small, medium, or large, or XL? We'll get you your aliens. We want them. Many of us are ready for them because some of us have some payback to do. I will say that. But nonetheless, there is a reality to this. All right. If we go back to what we've learned about the Tic Tac incident with the
Right.
U.S. Nimitz, those craft were doing things that were out of this world. Okay.
Absolutely.
Going from 80,000 feet and making a dead stop at 10 feet above sea level in 0.78 seconds. That is unheard of. Making sharp 90-degree turns without losing any speed or anything, not knowing where the propulsion systems are. Okay, there are UFOs out there. Let us not
Right.
be hesitant to the idea that everything is a Chinese drone, like all the skeptics are saying now. I mean, Lorien, pardon me. There's got to be a way for ufology to actually be able to see what is real and what is not. What are we missing?
Well, people want, see, this is the problem. And I've said this for years. People want to think that everything up in the sky is a UFO if you're in ufology. And if you're in the military and what have you, you want to believe that everything up there is not. So we're at a bypass here where everybody that's in ufology jumps on that bandwagon the second we see something, and it's got to be a UFO, And I gotta say, I'm happy now looking back on it that the Nimitz thing broke years later because it actually is an alien craft. They never could figure out what this thing was. I mean, they still wanted us to believe that we might have that technology. They keep floating that every once in a while, but you and I know darn well that that's got to be some kind of alien. And I don't mean like, little green men alien kind of thing. This could be another type of interdimensional probe of other types of human beings in another dimension. I don't know. I'm not saying it's gray aliens or Plagiarans or, the blue avians or, whatever, but it is definitely not of this reality. I can tell you that right now. And I'm not sure there was anybody inside of those things, flying around, maybe so, but most of the craft that I've ever seen, there is some type of window or portal or some way that, or if it's not a portal, it's totally solid, but there's somebody inside of it. There's some kind of intelligence to it. Okay. I didn't get that feeling from the Tic Tacs. I mean, I just didn't. They felt more drony and proby to me than like they were an actual craft with another type of entity in it. And but they were definitely not of this world. And it was good for the government to come out and say, we don't know what they are, you know? And that was wonderful. But this whole thing about ufology jumping on board with these balloons, come on, folks. I mean, what happened? Remember when who was it? It was Elon Musk, or was it somebody else? Was it Bezos? It might have been Bezos. They had the big balloons that were launched for satellite communication. The Google-loons. It was Google. Remember the Google-loons? They were the same thing as these Chinese balloons. And nobody mistook those for UFOs because we were all told, oh, those are Google-loons, And so everybody it was a nothing burger at that time. So then, these Chinese balloons come along and they look identical to the Google-loons. And here we are, all freaking out. I mean, I'm sorry. I get really upset with ufology for even considering that this might be UFOs when they're moving in a slow pattern, and they're not doing anything. Hey, a UFO, it winks out, it comes back, it moves at astronomical speeds. It is nothing like we have here on this planet. I'm sorry, I've seen too many of them. I've seen things that blow people's minds, but those things are not UFOs. I can tell you that right now. Unless they're, okay, now wait, I just realized something, Dave. They could be UFOs, and they could be what they want us to see. Now, that might be a reality. I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that. What do you think?
I don't think so at all. I think...
Yeah. I mean, I don't either, but whatever.
This is what I know. Take the American side out of it. I'm going strictly on the Canadian side right now.
Yeah, what are you guys doing about it?
The Canadian Minister of Defense, Anita Anand, came out and stated that the craft they shot down was cylindrical, and it was about the size of a small car.
Is that the one they're calling the business balloon?
One of them. I don't know. This is the one that was shot down up in the Yukon that they're claiming that they're not going to be able to find. Right, even though they had a research plane, a P-3 Orion in the U.S. Up here, we call them CP-140 Auroras.
Right,
okay, that was circling the area where this action was taking place. So yeah, they can't find it. Oh, BS. Right.
Yeah.
So, but the idea behind that I'm seeing it is that she said that Anita Anand stated that this was a metallic object.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, I didn't hear this part.
Yeah.
So very cool. So
car, and that they didn't know, that they had to be careful because they didn't know really where it was from or anything. And that Canada was going to retrieve it and then break it down.
Okay.
So,
now that could have been a UFO. We don't know.
Not at 40 miles an hour.
It was only going 40 miles an hour?
It was going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah. And was it moving in a steady pattern?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty much going
straight. I doubt it then. I really doubt it. Every UFO I've ever seen, you guys, it either stops or it's going. There's no, I'll just mosey along at 40 miles an hour. I've never seen that, So anyhow. Well, like I said, I'm not impressed by the way anybody handled it, and I'm certainly not impressed by the way ufology handled any of it. And if the Canadian one in the Yukon is a UFO, I'm excited for them. I hope they got one, you know. I hope they got one to study, you know. I'd love it if they would come out and say it really was a UFO. That'd be great.
Unfortunately, that is not going to happen. That
I
is,
know.
you know,
But
I
we can
want it to.
dream.
By the way, interesting point here, just a little bit off topic, but on a tweet today, this was pointed out to me, and I went and checked it while you were speaking. On a tweet today, Enigma Labs, and everybody's questioning, and we've questioned
Yeah.
about the Enigma Labs. Well, they have reports of all of the objects that have been shot down. But here's
Mhm.
something that Enigma Labs has now done: is they have shut down any type of reply on their tweets. So if they are not following you or mentioned, you cannot reply to their tweets. Does that get a little bit more suspicious, people, about this Enigma Labs that says that they're wanting to be all of this, everything that we've told you over the last few weeks? That's just
Did we find out their mission statement and all this? I mean, we still know that that rich guy owns them, right? I can't remember his name right now.
yeah, yes.
And do we know what his agenda is? Have we figured that
Well,
out?
what we do know about Mr. Billionaire, we know he put between
Mhm.
5 and 7 million into Enigma. We know that he, with his other companies, has contracts, including defense contracts.
Mhm.
Look, anybody who reports to Enigma, your stuff is going right to the U.S. government.
Of course. Yeah,
Ab-
it's obvious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't report anything to Enigma. I have no problem saying that. I don't trust them. I don't want my audience getting screwed over like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure anymore at this point in time that we really need to be reporting anything. I know that sounds crazy coming from a MUFON person, but I mean, if you have a contact with an ET and a ship, and you're just like, oh my god, I've had the most amazing experience, and you report it to MUFON, I think that would be about the only place I would report it these days. You
Well,
know, but yeah, go ahead.
let me ask you this then. Uh, Dave McDonald, the executive director of MUFON, has been spending a lot of time recently in Washington, D.C.
They
And
hired a lobbying company too. You know
they
that, right?
they called A10 Associates.
Yep.
Okay. Now, my question to you as a longtime MUFON member, how do you feel about A10 Associates CEO and founder, Jessica Beeson Taco,
Mhm.
now becoming a member of the board of directors of MUFON?
It bothers me. It's bothered me since it happened. I don't know how to address it yet. I still am digesting it. I was with Stephen Bassett last weekend, and I said to Stephen, and he can repeat this a million times. I said they should have hired you. If they were going to hire a lobbyist, it should have been you. You were a lobbyist. You know what you're doing. You're a MUFON member. You're a supporter of MUFON. If anybody was going to represent MUFON to the federal government, it should have been you. And they didn't. They hired people who know nothing about ufology, which scares me half to death. I mean, what are they thinking? I haven't had a chance to call Dave and ask him what he was thinking yet. So I'm not gonna pass judgment. Maybe there's a good reason I don't know about yet. And I will. I can call Jennifer, I can call a lot of people, Tom, whatever, and ask them if they know what's going on. Have you had Tom on since this happened?
No, Tom, by the way, let's give a shout out to Tom Whitmore. His
Yes.
70th birthday today.
Oh,
70th,
happy birthday.
yes. So, I mean, the idea behind it all is this. We know with MUFON, they have been for years trying to get the government to pay attention, the United States government to pay attention to them. And there's a lot of information that MUFON has. A lot
That's
of
true.
information. And you know what? A lot of people, such as yourself included, will say, look, anybody, if you pay the fee, doesn't matter whether you're CIA, NSA, or you work at the local
That's
pub,
right.
anybody can get the information as long as you pay the fee, right?
Yep.
Which is easy. But how do you feel about this direction? And I've talked to a lot of MUFON people recently about this, but I'll ask you, how do you feel about this direction that MUFON really wants to get? I don't want to use the term "get in bed" because that sounds slimy, but get
Well,
closer.
they want to be the government's go-to people for information and corroboration. See, what people don't understand is MUFON has had the STAR team forever. And they would love to get the STAR team working with the military out there, really getting their hands on the nuts and bolts stuff, and touching a UFO. I mean, I think that's been, and I hate to use the word, it's kind of crass, but that's been MUFON's wet dream forever. And they used to, way back in the day, the government did go to them. I know on a couple of occasions that there was nobody else to help them at that time. The government was still, just getting over Project Blue Book. They weren't really, their way of handling it in the 60s was, let's go in and scrape everything up and take it to a hangar. That's how they would handle it. Whereas MUFON started a protocol where they would go in and they would really interview the people involved on a very extensive level with psychologists and what have you. They would get the materials, they would take them off to scientists that they had working for them. They would do a lot more kind of like a pedestrian working on it, whereas the military, the military would go in and just kind of take a swath out of it all and put it in a container and say, now what do we do with it? Because they really weren't ready for that kind of thing. They weren't built for it. Even when Hynek was running it, they were still asking themselves questions about, how does it fly? Things like that. Whereas MUFON had kind of, in a weird way, already graduated beyond that to the point where they were going, well, we know it does this, we know it was that, we have scientists involved. And, they were a little more, I want to say boots on the ground. And the government kind of at that point, I would say by the early 70s, stopped asking them questions and went off their own direction, got their own scientists. And if it wasn't for MUFON, in a weird way, the government would never have started doing all the things they do around ufology. They would never have gone to Bigelow. They would never have done all this if it hadn't been for MUFON back in the 60s. Because they started in 1969. By 1973, the STAR team had already handled a few things for them. I know this. This is a fact. I can't tell you how I know. But the military thought, we can do this. We don't need MUFON for any of this stuff. We're not going to go to them. And so I think they just want to get back working with them again. I think that they complement each other very well. They're both doing very different things. So anyhow, that's my opinion about it.
I understand that. I think, and as I've said on this show, and I even said it on the last roundtable that you were on, as we got about a minute to go here, Lorien, before we got to go to break. I think MUFON, in my opinion, has taken the wrong turn on here, because I would love to see them be more of an advocate for the people than trying to be a UFO chaser for the U.S. government. To me, that doesn't bode well or sit well with me. Never mind, hey, the government's going to get your information one way or another. They're going to get your story
Right.
one way or another. Okay, that's their easy part. But there is nobody advocating for the experiencers. There's nobody advocating for them in the media or against the government or against, disclosure. And
Mm.
MUFON, in my opinion, had a great opportunity to do that. They may still in the future,
I
but
thought
for
they
right
were, yeah, I
now, I don't.
thought they were doing that. Anyhow, we'll talk about it when we get back, right?
Well, we could talk about that and a lot more. We'll also take some audience questions if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter tonight at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Lorien Fenton from UFOCon 2023 is our guest. Her event March 19th or 17th through 19th in San Francisco. UFOCon2023.com, where you can get tickets. SPKR23, your promo code for cheaper tickets. Coming up next. All right, who did I miss? Rogerge And Kim Jellin, nice to see you. And we are caught up right now. Lorien, what I'm going to do, we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to put you back in the green room. Don't disconnect or anything because I'll be able to see you. But we'll be right back here, guys. I'll be right back. All right. We'll bring Lorien back in here. Hello, Lorien. Remember,
Hello.
Leprechaun sightings to Wilford Brimley 2.0.
Leprechaun sightings. Ooh, cool.
Love leprechauns. Christopher Branham, how you doing? And who else is here? If you're listening new, do us a favor. It really helps with our algorithms. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment below what you think is going on. And you know what? Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell. If this is your first time listening, we are a hybrid of a live radio show, which is why we have to take the breaks. And because we have to time out for our radio stations. And then we are live on podcast networks and YouTube here and Twitch as well. So that's why we are kind of taking a break. If you're sitting here wondering, what the hell's this YouTube channel taking a break for? Well, that's the reason why. So we just want to get you all up to date and understanding of why we do things the way we do around here. We are a little bit different, but that's okay. That's okay. A lot of people log out, then log back in, because they're taking a break as well. Oh, hey, Clam, how you doing? And Nikki Kneecaps, how you doing? Welcome back. Ross Lambda, good to see you. And Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight. And Random Guy says he's going to come on. Bears Eat Beats. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Been a while.
Doesn't Random Guy come on at the end of the show?
Yeah, he comes on near the end. Random Guy is just some random guy we happen to meet, and sometimes he knows things, sometimes he doesn't. Maverick, how you doing? Good to see you. Maybe one day in a couple of years we'll get Random Guy speaking at your conference.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I love random guys.
Random Guy. All right, here we go, everyone. Hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cache. Cache is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From UFOCon2023.com, Lorien Fenton, who's also a member of MUFON. She's an author, researcher, experiencer of everything unknown. Lorien is with us again tonight to kind of break down all the things that are going on in the UFO world right now. And it is nuts out there. It is crazy. Lorien, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me tonight. I love it. And your person here who gave you the super $5 there, Xanamax, she says, or he says, I wish we're able to get day tickets for UFO Con in San Francisco, not the whole weekend. Well, folks, I open up the day tickets about a week before the event. And they're kind of pricey, but they're worth it. Now, what I tell everybody to do is share your ticket. Buy a $125 ticket, and then go on Saturday and give your friend the ticket for the rest of the weekend, and they go on Sunday. And then you've paid, and you can go on Friday night too or whatever, and you're getting, 2.5 days for the price of 2 day tickets, a lot cheaper. So, I mean, get creative, give your friend a gift or make them pay for half the ticket. That's what I always do. And that's just a fun way to do it. And it saves you a lot of money. So it says right on the website, if you want to share your ticket, I have no problem with that. You just got to let me know who the person is using it. Okay. So there's that option. But yes, I will open up day seats as soon as I figure out how many full weekend tickets I have sold, then I can open it up because I only have so many seats left. So we're a very small event. We only have 250 tickets that we can sell. So we got to be careful. But anyhow, we'll have them there for you. Don't worry. You can make it. You can get there.
Just do it. Just do it. Just get there. Lorien will make it happen. Lorien will make it happen.
Oh, yeah. No, nobody gets turned away, right, Dave?
That's right. Nobody gets turned away, even if it's ticket number 251 out of 250.
That's right. I'll sit out in the hallway if I have to.
Exactly. Exactly. Lorien, but while we're waiting for some audience questions to come on in for you tonight, ufology, as we stated in the last hour, has really been turned upside down about the whole disclosure movement because the word aliens and extraterrestrials did come up in the last 12 days.
It
And you know
did.
as well as I do that this isn't something that is a joking matter for those of us who are involved in this. And it really looked like, even though it may have been part of the propaganda of it all, it really looked like they were talking seriously that we cannot rule out anything from outer space or time travel or anything along those lines. I mean, in your opinion, was this the first real serious conversation about extraterrestrials in front of the press?
Well, it was interesting that they brought up those topics, I have to say. And I I wondered, this is just me being the paranoid person I am. I wondered if it wasn't on purpose to distract us from the fact that there was a lot of crazy espionage going on with China. Okay? I mean, they don't want us worried about war with China because I'm worried that they don't know how they're going to handle this event. You know, I know how China handled it. They got out there and said those were our balloons, and yes, they're weather balloons, but you guys do it all the time to us. So there. What do you do? I mean, it might have been just a little bit of a distraction to keep people from really thinking about the implications of us shooting down China's balloons when they haven't shot down ours. I mean, there's a lot of politics going on here that aren't being addressed, and I'm glad they did it. I would rather they do that when it's really appropriate, like with the Nimitz stuff. That would have been much more interesting if they'd come out when the Nimitz things were happening and said, "Oh yes, we don't have a clue what that is. Could be, aliens. It could be stuff from another dimension. We don't know." That would have been better. But hey, I'll take what I can get. I'm happy they even did it.
Do you think we'll ever get the gun camera footage of these?
I don't think so. No. I mean, if we do, it'll be a long time. And, I take that back, Dave, because I thought about that the other day. I thought, well, if they showed it to us, we actually got zoomed in from the ground with telescopes and stuff, and we did see pretty much what they were. The only one we don't know about is the one over the Yukon, right? We haven't gotten real footage of that, correct?
Well, I believe there is footage there, but I don't think the Canadian government is going to release it.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I mean, we had in the news, you could see these things. I mean, you could see the shapes, you could see them, the balloon. I mean, you could see everything. So, really, what's the point of, I mean, do we need it? Are you talking about the gun camera footage on the Nimitz?
No, the gun camera footage of these drones being taken down.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll never see it. I don't think so. And really, what I'd rather see is the Nimitz footage. To be honest with you, I want to see the stuff they confiscated after Gary Voorhees was looking at it because he said it was mind-boggling. I talked to him. Our conference in Laughlin was the first conference he ever spoke at, and he was spilling his guts about what was going on. He hasn't said quite as much lately, but he said that footage was mind-boggling because you got to remember we're hearing what Favor told us and what Allison or I think her name's Allison. I can't remember
Alex Dietrich.
Alex Dietrich. We're hearing what they said, and they put it to film. And they had all these Beatty's movie that came out. They had all these 3D renderings, but Gary actually saw the footage of the real thing. Okay, we've never seen the real thing. So everybody keeps forgetting that. They think because they saw the movies and the renderings and the 60 minutes and what have you, they all think they saw it, but they never saw it. Those were all made for movie renderings. And Gary saw the real thing and he said it was mind-boggling. So there you go. That's what I want to see.
I want to see that too. I absolutely want to see that. I think the world deserves to see that. And unfortunately, this is why I keep telling our audience, we are not in a disclosure movement. And it
No.
bugs me that everybody believes, all of UFO Twitter believes we're getting closer to disclosure. Disclosure means letting everything out. Letting
Exactly.
everything out. Okay. We're not going to get everything. Not going to know about if Eisenhower met with aliens and traded humans for technology. We're not going to know about crash retrievals. We're not going to know if there is contact between UFOs right now and aliens right now and the U.S. government. We're not going to know if the government knows about alien abductions and who is being taken. That is disclosure. We're not going to know about Roswell. We're not going to know about Kecksburg. We're not going to know about Phoenix. That's
Mhm.
disclosure. All they are doing is confirming that the phenomena is there, which leads to our next question that we're the only ones who've been asking this question on this show, and that is why now? Why
Very
now?
good question. I've been asking that myself, and I agree with Mr. D. Weedy. Instead of wag the dog, it was wag the alien. I totally agree with you. But it was a very short-lived little wag the alien. They just drug him out for a second and they popped him back in his spacecraft, and it was quite cute actually. But um, I agree. I mean, I just don't think they're ever going to give us full disclosure, and I don't mean ever. Maybe 20 years from now, when and I've told you this, Dave, a million times. The day that Tom DeLonge went on that stage and I saw the people that were behind him, I knew this was a slow burn rollout. I mean, we're talking, I've got to be dead before this is really going to happen. I'm 65 years old. I think it may happen when I'm 85, at the earliest, but it is a 20-year rollout. They want the older people who are not indoctrinated into the movies, into the Twitter feeds, the what have you. They want us out of the way so that they can control the narrative with the younger people that have been on Facebook and Twitter and all these things since they were 10 years old, and that they think they know how the alien world works, the UFO world works, and it's their agenda programming them and how to think about it. Okay, that's what we're doing here.
Let's get to a couple questions from our audience here. And Paul E.T. is asking, is it safe to say E.T. life is beyond violence and money worship?
Yes, absolutely. At least my ETs and I that have talked with each other about money, they don't. I mean, I'm not going to go into other people that deal with ET except for myself, and they have showed me a world where we can all be getting along, and there is no need for money and violence because once you get to the point where you're actually telepathically communicating with others, or at least empathically communicating with others, we have lost our empathy over the last 100 years. I don't, or 2 or 3 or 400 years. I don't know what happened, but up until about the 16, I'd say 14 to 1600s, there was a lot more empathy between people, and then war got very ugly. I think it happened with the Bronze Age or whatever, when we started making weapons that were pretty ugly. People lost empathy, and empathy is really the key here. Empathy leads to telepathy, and these are all interconnected. At least that's what they've told me. And when we get our empathy back and we feel the things we're doing to others as much onto ourselves, the violence will stop. There's a lot of other things they told me about our mental capacity, and what's happened with us is that we have become locked in our own mind, and many people go insane because they don't like being alone in their own thoughts, in their own, they can't handle themselves. They are not emotionally mature enough to handle their own thought process.
Right.
And it's a long, complicated download I got. But yeah, you're right. The real Polly T, it is safe to say ET life is beyond violence and money worship. They have nothing to do with it. They don't need it.
Well, Lorien, just going to stop you there for a quick second because in our chat room now, I know you're a big hockey fan. We do have, we do have a Toronto Maple Leafs fan in the room here. okay, in our chat room, and they don't live in reality, those people. So we're going to have to break things down a little bit more simple, because now there are Toronto Maple Leafs fans listening in. So, just want that out there. Wanted to get that out there. Not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. 67 people,
You're killing me.
1967. I just wanted to get that out there just in case,
Yeah, Leafs in 6. Oh my God. Okay.
yeah.
We'll see. My poor Sharks are doing terrible, but I still love them.
Hey, my Canucks and your Sharks are going for that first overall pick.
Oh, probably. That's all they've got going for them right now.
Well, let me tell you something. Connor Bedard, remember that name. He's
Okay.
he's 18 years old. He's already going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
Already.
really? Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. All right, let's continue on here, as we do have more questions, but we'll just try and make
Yeah,
it.
I'm ready for questions, you guys. I love questions.
Like I said, there are Leaf fans listening now, so we got to simplify this. All right.
We got to break it down a lot. I know.
DC is asking, have any private companies come forward to say that they were their objects shot down? No, not a spare. No, not a single company has come down. Not even a shell company for the CIA. They haven't come down either. So
Blackwater hasn't come forward. Nobody. I mean, we're in trouble.
you got that right. I mean, you think somebody would have stood up if it was a business balloon?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first thought was, well, if it's a business balloon, where's the business? They'd have a press conference. Wouldn't you want to be that guy getting shot down? I mean, I'd be like, my God, my business is going to boom now. I'm going to get on a press conference. I'm going to say they shot down my UFO that I just created. I'd be milking that one.
Oh, absolutely. That's free. It's free press. It's you're going to get free airtime because every media outlet's going to come down there, put your company up front, and say, what do you think about your balloon getting shot down?
Exactly.
Well, the government pays me back for this, but all the free advertising, that free marketing cannot be bought.
That's right. And that's why I thought maybe it wasn't really I thought it might. There's just a little piece of me that prays it was a real UFO, Dave. Praise, But I doubt it. We'll see.
Oh, I hear you. Let's go to another question here from our audience. Let's go to Grandmaster, the Gong Show. How do you think the craft uses advanced physics?
Oh, God. You're asking the dumbest person on the planet there, Grandmaster. I will tell you guys a quick story if Dave will let me. I was laying in bed one night and they came to me and they took me to Einstein's office at Harvard University back in the 40s or whatever. And I sat at his desk all night and he was on a chalkboard. He was teaching me all these advanced physics. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I woke up, you guys, and I was so smart. I knew the answers to the universe. I knew how the spaceships flew. I knew how the sun worked. I knew how gravity worked. I knew everything. And I knew that 1 and 0 were the answer to everything that there was, and it was actually God. Okay. I mean, I knew this, right? About a minute and a half later, I'm back. It's all gone. And I'm back to being as dumb as a rock. And I was so pissed because math is my worst thing in the whole world. And here I am, a bookkeeper, right? So I was so mad at them. I was standing there cursing them, like, why did you make me stupid again, like Lawnmower Man? I was just so furious. And they said to me, someday in the near future, you're going to meet up with people in the government and scientists. And we gave you enough residual knowledge that when they speak with you, you can actually understand just enough to be able to communicate it to other people, yourself, your radio show, whatever it is you're doing, that you can communicate it to others and know what they're actually trying to get across to you. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Okay, I'll take that, But I really don't know. I know they use advanced physics, but it's not the same physics we have here. If you were a scientist here, it would be, American human physics or whatever. But in space or dimensions or wherever God is, it doesn't work like that, you guys. I'm sorry. There is no real science, if you want to call it that. It's just the way things function and they work together. And they have ways of making them, at least that I could figure out, with mathematics and symbolism and voice and toning and frequencies, that they all work together to create actual life. And our DNA, and I learned this from somebody many years ago. His name was Beneful. That was his last name. And I don't know where he is. I met him at Contact in the Desert. I had him on my radio show once. And he told me in an interview that his space aliens had given him a download that our DNA was actually a circle. And it was snipped in half, or snipped and cut to become a strand. And because of that, it could not self-replicate itself and keep itself going forever. That's how in the days of Moses, or whenever they did their first tweak of us, they were living to 900, 1,000 years old. It's because their DNA the electrical current can go through it and keep it self-replicating for a much longer period of time. It doesn't start breaking down as easily. And my aliens told me the same thing on in another mathematical level, that our DNA was never meant to be a strand, because it starts breaking down and falls apart what they call almost instantly. To them, 80 years is instantly, So, and it wasn't the good guys who did that to us, by the way. So that's all I can tell you about that. So I hope I answered your question a little bit.
Love it. Love it. I think you did a great job. Let's move on to the real Paulie T. Can you tell us, will John Tavares ever win a Stanley Cup? No. The Leafs won't get out of the first round. The Leafs will get out of the first round. Even with acquiring, who did they acquire? Ryan. Oh, I'm having a.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I just saw him play a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they just made a big trade with St. Louis.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly. There we go.
So let me ask, you're a Jets fan, right?
No, I'm a Canucks and Oilers fan. Oilers fan since '79.
Oh, okay.
Canucks fan since I used to cover them.
That's true. Okay, I remember now.
Yeah. So.
Wait. Let's talk about the Kraken. What do you think about them?
I love their uniforms.
I do too.
Beachy would like to know, if space satellites are real, why are we using balloons?
Well, they do different things, very different things, as a matter of fact. I was reading up on them this last week, and the balloons can do atmospheric measurements, and they can do humidity, and they can do all these things. Once you get up into space, it's all about digital communications and satellite communications. In other words, feeds to television studios and radio broadcasting, and it's a whole different type of communication set. And they do need to do these aerial ballooning, weather balloon things. They do need to do them because they're measuring pollution up there. They're measuring all kinds of things. It's quite fascinating, actually.
That's right. And on that note, Lorien, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we only have you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. This show is flying on by. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight. We're talking everything UFOs tonight on the big show. And she is the creator, owner, host of UFOCon2023.com in San Francisco, March 17th through 19th. Get your promo code SPKR23. Go use it. Get your tickets. I'll see you down there in just a few short weeks. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. Christopher Branham from the Ohio State. He's a Buckeye. The Ohio State. Love the Ohio State. Love it. All right. Guy Calgary or Guy Calgary. That's a good comment right there. Strong comment.
Oh, that is a strong comment.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the Leafs gave up way more for Ryan O'Reilly, and they could have had a 50-goal scorer, Bo Horvat. What a horrible trade the Canucks made for Horvat. My God.
Really? I didn't know about that.
Random guy. Yes, I've been an Oilers fan since 1979, their first game in the NHL. Love my Oilers. Mm-hmm.
Portland Buckaroos is what I grew up on, Western Hockey League. I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah, but I actually remember the Portland Buckaroos.
You're kidding me. My God.
And the Seattle Breakers.
Yes, and the Oakland Seals.
Yep.
And the LA Kings were part of it too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's a long time ago. Long time ago.
I was in the 60s when I was watching hockey. Before we had the National Hockey League.
Well, there was the Western Hockey League, which actually was a pro league. And that's
that's the Buckaroos. Yeah, the Buckaroos of Seattle, and everybody's in that.
That's now. Why are they called the Oilers, Dave? Because Alberta is filled with oil. Alberta has the largest oil reserve outside of OPEC.
It's true.
Yeah. And our idiot country wants to shut that down because they hate everybody hates Alberta. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Hanson brothers of the Iron League. That's right. God, I gotta watch Slapshot again.
Oh, I love Slapshot.
I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, once a year and like break out the beer and I actually watch it.
I actually think it's time for me to introduce my son to Slapshot. He's 9.
Oh my God. He's 9?
Yeah.
He'll get most of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
You going to show him the Paul Newman booby shot in the bedroom?
Oh, of course.
Of course. Why not?
Hanrahan. Oh, God.
Who is that? Susie Schwartz? Susie? God, I can't remember her name. The actress.
I was 19 years old and I got absolutely pickled with at a big hockey event with the guy who played where they said Dave's a killer. Dave's a mess.
Dave's a killer. I remember that.
Yeah. That's why, like on my Dave 101, you'll actually hear at the end I put Dave's a killer. Dave's a mess. It's from Slapshot.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So now are we on YouTube live right now?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube right now.
Cool.
Yep. Hockey season up here usually ends around March. Hi, Ann B. Watching from Edmonton. That's right. I had no idea you were from Edmonton.
How are the Calgary Flames doing this year? I haven't even paid any attention to them.
They're struggling.
They are, yeah. Well, that'll be a good game between them and the Sharks soon then. They're both struggling.
Oh, yeah. But the main thing is I think Calgary, Edmonton will make the playoffs. I really do.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, my Canucks will not. That's okay, though.
It's okay. Maybe next year the Canucks and the Sharks will go at each other and we can meet halfway, or maybe I'll come up to a Vancouver game.
I haven't been to a game in years. I got to get back down there for one.
Yeah, I miss going to my games. But, it's tough because the television coverage is so much better than being there practically. I
Oh,
mean, it's hard.
give me 1 second here, Lorien. I want to say thank you to W. David Page, Lala Cat, Lara, Deb, Neuron, Bob, Pam H, Zen2, Pam S, and Zaname times 3, Jenny. Who is that? I can't read my writing there. Margot, Jeff, Squirrel, and Christopher. Thank you so much. Here we go with the next half hour. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Video on to the top of the hour. Lorien Fenton from UFOCon2023.com is here. Her conference, March 17th through 19th in San Francisco. It is live, so you can get tickets for it on the website. I will be down there. Many others who have been guests on this show will be down there, like Science Bob, who will be speaking, Melinda Leslie, John Yost, who was recently on the air, and many, many others. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you there. Lorien, thank you so much. And there is a promo code for your tickets, SPKR23. Make sure you use it. Thank you, Lorien, for being here tonight.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I need more questions, you guys. Come on, let's throw them at me.
All right, let's go to Beachy. If space satellites are real, why are we using balloons?
Well, I think we just answered that kind of, because satellites do completely different things. And trust me, there are a lot of military satellites up there making sure that we're being, well watched. There's cell phone satellites. They're all doing, their jobs up there. There's television satellites, military satellites. I mean, it goes on and on. The balloons, as I mentioned before, are used for mostly weather. Apparently, they're now being used for observation as well. They may even be used in the future for dropping some kind of EMP little bombs, or who knows. I don't know what they're up to with these high-flying weather balloons, but they have been used in the past, up until recently, I guess, to be used to measure weather and pollution and humidities and jet streams and all kinds of things. So they have to, because they're at a lower altitude. They're not up in the upper atmosphere. So, we have to use them.
Pixie Lara is asking, Lorien, have you received a similar message about a return from all your downloads? A return of aliens, that would be.
Oh, hi, Laura. The return is a very interesting word that you use that, because what they told me is they never left. They're always here. And the other part to that is they're always in communication with whoever that they're in communication with. And that time, and this is my biggest download, and I've got to get my book out about this. This is so important. My last big download was in 3 parts. It was about 2 years ago now, maybe a little longer. And the last part of that was that time travel was the answer to everything that we ask about aliens here on this planet right now. That time travel is the answer, because time, what they showed me is that time is everything all at once, and that they never really did leave, because they're always in communication with us from many different dimensions at the same time, and many timelines of our own lives. Like, they showed me at one point about a bleed through of one, like, they explained it to me as one shift over from this reality that I live in now, that I'm aware of in my 3D reality. I was laying in bed and I heard myself on the phone come in the front door of the house, and I was wearing high heels and I was wearing a dress, which I hardly ever wear anymore. I was a lot thinner, and I was just in one reality over. I was in the same house, and I walked into the kitchen. I put on water for tea. I could hear myself doing all this. I heard myself talking on the phone. I had a different job. I knew I had a different job. I was still working for a corporation, and I laid there and I knew I was in the house. What had happened was I had bled into my other dimension, and they let me do that just to prove to me that there are thousands of dimensions of Loriens, thousands of dimensions of Dave, and they can be in different times, they can be in different realities, but what they were trying to prove to me is that some of them are so similar to what we're in right now that if we came across it and we slipped into it, we might not even know the difference. I've slipped into two different time slips because I went driving down the street of my neighborhood, and a house was not there that was there the day before, and I went back the next night and it was there again. So I have slipped in and out of time zones or timelines, and yeah, I've had a lot of strange things. I know most of you know about when I saw that house appear from the 1800s in an empty lot, walking home from school when I was about 8 years old with a friend. Yeah, so time travel really is the key because they never left. They're always here. They're always communicating. They're in another one reality over dimension. And I can expand upon this just a little more, Dave. I was told by a gentleman many years ago that he worked for the CIA, and he couldn't tell me a whole lot, but he did tell me this. He said the gray aliens don't always take us on a ship. It may look like a ship and what we think is a ship, but in many cases, it is what they call the slots. That's SLOTS. And that is another dimensional space that engulfs our own space, where they have built what I consider like a holodeck. And they take us into that, and we think we're on a ship. We think we're doing all that because they're not very, you guys can remember something, they're not very creative. They aren't going to build a set like a TV studio so you think you're in your own house. Maybe they would, I don't know. But mostly they build this construct of a ship. And we get in there and we go into these rooms, and we're examined, we're this and we're that. And then we're popped back into our reality. And we think we have been like on a ship or done this or done that. In reality, we've just been teleported into a holodeck type of situation. So they showed that to me as well. I mean, I've seen some amazing technologies that are mind blowing. And people say, "Well, Lorien, did you just make that up because you've seen Star Trek or whatever?" And maybe I did. I don't know, but I really believe it's very different for me when they contact me and when they take me and they show me these things. It feels very real, and I believe them. And hey, I have no way to prove them wrong at this point. Oh, and the last thing I want to say about that is there is a movie out called Midnight Special about a little boy named Alton. And if you watch that movie, you get a very good idea of what the slots would be like or what that other dimension might be like. It is probably my favorite paranormal kind of ET movie out there. And I cry every time I watch it. I just love that movie. So I hope you guys watch it too. It's called Midnight Special about a little boy named Alton. It was made in 2016, and it's not the old Midnight Special of the 90s or 80s or whatever. Okay, so just find it, watch it, you'll love it.
Rock and roll, rock and roll. Let's move on to another question here. This one comes from Joseph. Do you have any resonance with Baba Vanga and her prophecies for 2023 to 2030?
Oh God, who is she? I don't even know about this. I'm so out of it, you guys. I work like 5 jobs and I'm never I don't even know who that is. What is the prophecy? Does anybody know? Can they tell me?
I'm looking. She looks Ukrainian. If she's going by Baba, she's definitely Ukrainian. Oh, she's from Bulgaria. And she was born October 3rd, 1911, passed away in 1996. And her 2023 predictions, let's take a look at some of them here. According to this media site, she was like Nostradamus, allegedly predicted 9/11 and the rise of Donald Trump. So let's see here. Apparently this year there's going to be a devastating solar storm, and it's going to be the most dramatic since the Carrington event of 1859. And let's see, what else is there going to be? There could be a change in Earth's orbit going around the sun. This is a particularly fascinating prophecy, which could have ramifications. And yeah, the radical shift occurred over the course of a single year for whatever reason. A bioweapon atrocity, she called for, to be carried out by a big country. This is arguably one of the more viscerally disturbing predictions ever provided by the prophetess. Yeah, considering the heated geopolitical context right now. What else does she say here? Well, that's all they're giving. That's all they're giving, because that's all they ever talk
That's
about.
enough. Don't you think that's enough, Dave?
Well, I'm actually hoping for the whole sun event, because I'm going to get some crazy ass awesome northern lights here then.
You will, you will. Well, now very interesting. I actually have heard of her before. Now that you've mentioned all this, and my ETs told me that between 2022 and 2025 would be the hardest years of my life. I didn't know what they meant by it at the time, and they just said, strap in. It's going to be difficult. Now I know that we got problems coming and whatever. And I hope she's wrong. I really hope she's wrong, because I've been working with a group called oh gosh, I can't do the EMP Task Force, and I've been doing a little bit of marketing and helping them out, and I got some of the guys on Coast to Coast and things like that. Anyhow, point is, they are warning the world about an EMP pulse, whether it be military or the sun, and they've got 2 new movies out that I'm going to be starting to promote after my conference. And I have a gut feeling that she might be right about the sun part of this, because something's been telling me to work with these people and really do as much as I can to help out, because it's very easy to harden our grid, folks, and it's also very easy to stop an EMP pulse from destroying many things if you know it's coming and you turn everything off. And that includes the electrical grid. We have to talk these companies into shutting down. And they have to be able to do it without, repercussion. Most of them won't do it. This is something most people don't even know about. This EMP task force has been trying to work with what's the company in California? PG&E. They've been trying to work with PG&E to say, look, we want to put a government mandate in that says if we know an EMP strike is coming from the sun and we've got 24 hours notice, that you guys shut down your grid. And they're refusing to do it. If the grid is on, everything that we know is going to get killed. I mean, literally explode, and things are going to catch on fire. We'll have firestorms. People don't understand. An EMP pulse, when it hits here, yeah, you knock out your electricity for, until you rebuild it. But that's not the real aftermath. The aftermath is all the transformers blowing up, all the hot oil blowing out of these things, all the fires that are going to ensue. It's going to make, 1906 in San Francisco look like a cakewalk, or the turkey thing that's happened right now. I mean, seriously, we're gonna burn up, and that's what I worry about. But anyhow, yeah. Anyhow,
Let's go on to Nancy here. What's the difference between dimensions and time?
Well, there isn't much difference. That's the problem. And that's why I said they left me dumb as a rock after they taught me all this stuff because I can't tell you the difference. I can tell you this, though. They're interwoven and they're the same thing. And when people talk about time space, I guess that is interwoven in there as well. Um, I got a good friend named Marshall Barnes that swears he's going to time travel me out of here and back to 1972. And I'm very excited about it. But he says it's all about just changing your frequencies and your the vibration of your body at some point, and then you're just popped right into another time. So I don't know. Supposedly they live very close together and intertwined with each other. Hope
All
that
right,
helps.
let's go over to Jeff here. Jeff is asking, Lorien, what do you think of the Lyrans being our ancestors?
I believe it's true. I believe we have many ancestors. I believe that we've been tweaked genetically by many different species. Because again, they're all happening at the same time. There could be Atlanteans in one timeline, Lyrans in another, Plajarans in another, the Raptors in another. I mean, they're all happening at the same time. So, and I can actually wrap my head around this concept. I know it sounds nuts, but I have been able to do it lately, and it's very interesting to me. Um, I believe that they are our ancestors. I believe that many different species out there are our ancestors, and they don't all come here from another ship or whatever. They can actually pop in and out of dimensional time space, if that's what you want to call it, and they can breed with us, change us, and then pop back into their reality. And just, they come here to party. What can I say?
Well, let's get to another question here. This one comes from Thin Lizzy. Someone said my manifesting my cat was like a story of yours with a rabbit. Can you tell that?
Oh my God, my rabbit story. Geez. Okay. I'm yeah, I think I was about 6 years old. It's 1963. And we went to the Multnomah County Fair up in Portland, Oregon. And my grandfather was looking for another sheep. My grandmother was looking at the baking goods. And my little sister was with us. And she was just tagging along because she was very little. Anyhow, so my grandfather took off for the sheep pens, and I got plopped over by the rabbits. And the girl and boy, they were sister brother team, had just won first place with this big black rabbit. And I asked him if I could hold it. My grandfather said, sure, go ahead. I'm going to go over here. I'll be back in a while. So I sit on the ground in the cedar shavings holding this rabbit, and I fell in love with this rabbit. I mean, it was like I instantly became part of the rabbit. Okay. So my grandfather comes back about 20 minutes later, maybe half hour, and he says, okay, it's time to go. We got to get moving. And I started crying. I was like, no, I can't leave my rabbit. I love my rabbit. I'm not leaving him. Grandfather says, no, can't have a rabbit. I'm not building a hut. So there's no way this is going to happen. But he did look up at the sister and brother team and said, can we buy it? And they said, no, we're going to keep it. It's a breeding rabbit. It just won first place. And, we're keeping it. And that was that. We get in the car. We're driving back home. Back in the old days, they had the bench seats. And there were no seat belts, so you could do whatever you wanted in the car, folks. I know most of you don't even know what that concept is like. But anyhow, I'm hanging over the seat in the front, and I'm sliding back and forth between Grandma and Grandpa. And I go to my grandmother, please, Grandma, tell Grandpa I want a rabbit. And she's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I go to Grandpa, please, Grandpa, build me a hutch. I want a rabbit. You get me a rabbit. No. So this happens all the way back until about 6 blocks to the house. At that point, I very loudly put my hands together and started praying to God because I'm now Catholic. I just started my first year at Catholic grade school, right? So I knew what to do. I knew if I prayed really loud in front of my grandparents, they would get me that rabbit, right? The guilt trip was coming already. So I'm praying, but something very interesting happened during that little prayer. I felt like a peace and a love that I can't even, it's so hard to explain to people. That was so profound that I thought everybody, when they prayed, this happened to them. See, now that's another problem, but that's another story. And I'm praying, I feel so good, and I'm now happy again, and I could care less really about the rabbit, but I knew I loved the rabbit, and it was all okay, right? It was just all over for me. So we pull into the driveway of our farm back then, and we had a gate, and right beyond the gate, there's a black blob. And my grandfather's looking at it, my grandmother's looking at it, then they all start looking at me, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm hanging over the seat still. And the next thing I know, my grandfather gets out, opens the gate, and there's a black rabbit that looks identical, same size, same rabbit, sitting there in the middle of the driveway. And it just sits there. He picks it up, he brings it over to the car, puts it in my arms, and says, I guess I have to build that hutch after all. And that was that. But that was the day my grandmother told me many years later, I knew you had a gift. Whatever that is, who knows? I mean, maybe I time traveled and I went over and took the rabbit out of a hutch and put it there. Who knows? But yeah, no, that's the story. I manifested a rabbit, and it was fun. What can I say? I really did love that rabbit for about 3 months. Then the kids who owned it actually found it and took it back. But it was a great lesson for me.
That's hilarious. Just hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's go to Joseph here. Could these ships, constructs, or holodecks be the Merkabahs we see in the sky sometimes?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, Joseph. I sometimes wonder if what these ships are out there are just our manifestation of shapes and sizes and colors and silver and metal, and and these Merkabah, if you're talking about a geometrical shape of light, I'm starting to think that may be the actual interface that's happening with us, and that well, at least for some of the ETs, because I do know that I have seen hard nuts and bolt ships myself, so I know they exist, but I'm starting to wonder if they aren't ours, if all of those aren't ours only, or at least more physical ETs like the reptilians or maybe the grays or what have you, because I do know there's a whole spectrum of ETs out there, because mine are mostly white light beings. I don't see grays or reptilians or anything like that. So mine are angels. What can I say? See that one right there, little angel.
One more quick question. We got 90 seconds. Maverick is asking, is remote viewing another form of time travel, or is it like astral travel?
Well, they're the same thing again, and remote viewing is. I absolutely believe that. It's so funny you asked me that question. I was just on the phone with Russell Targ today, and we were talking about remote viewing and time travel and astral travel. They're all the same thing, except I will tell you this: astral travel usually happens when you're asleep and you actually physically come out of your body, if that's what we're talking about here, is that type of thing. So yes, it's different, but it kind of has the same outcome. You can get the same, information.
All right, 45 seconds. Tell everybody about UFOCon.
Oh, UFOCon2023.com. If you use the Davy special, you can get in for the whole weekend for $125, which is a great deal right now. And this code is SPKR23 for speaker 23. And I hope to see you guys there. I really do. We have a lot of fun. If we do nothing else, we party all weekend and have a good time. So, and we eat UFO pancakes on Sunday night. IHOP. IHOP.
No, I don't do breakfast for dinner. I will not eat the pancakes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'll eat something else. Lorien Fenton, my dear, my friend, my hero, my mentor. I will see you in a few weeks' time at UFOCon 2023. And thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's always a pleasure when you're on here.
Thank you, sweetie. I really enjoy myself. Thanks a lot.
Coming up next, little Timmy Senor returns for the UFO report, and there may be a random guy sighting a little bit later on in overtime. Spaced Out Radio continues with Hour 3 next. Stay tuned. We're clear. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, that was fun. Thanks.
Glad you had fun, my dear. Thank you for
I
joining.
love having questions from the audience. That's great.
I like it too. I like
Good.
it too. I will let
Yeah.
you get some sleep. Make sure you listen to Random Guy later.
I will. I'm going to go back and start working on the website. I've got more things to add. Hey, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you send me a banner for Spaced Out Radio for the website and the program that I got to do this
Sure.
next week? Yeah,
Sure.
I'd really love that. That'd be great.
All right. I can do
And
that.
I'm sorry I never got you a voiceover ad. I've been so busy. I
Yeah.
just haven't had time to think.
I,
But you've been
I,
promoting it, so
I did book my flight 2 days. No, yesterday or 2 days ago. So
great.
I
Good deal.
I land at just after 12 on Friday the 17th, and then I leave Monday morning.
Oh, okay, perfect. Just like last time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you were on the same flights.
I was earlier, but this time I don't have to do COVID checks, so I won't be stuck at the airport for 14 hours.
Oh God, what a nightmare that was, huh?
Yes,
God.
that really sucked. All right, Lorien, love you.
Okay, sweetie. Love you too. Talk to you later.
Bye. Lorien Fenton, everyone. I love her. Absolutely love her. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned. Random Guy, just make sure everything's random in the chat room. Little Timmy Senor, if you just look here quickly, I'll give you a few of these as a warm up. There you go. All right. We got about a minute left. Hey, if you haven't signed up for Vegas yet for our fan party in May 19th to 21st at the Golden Nugget, what's holding you back? It's time. Get your email to info@spacedoutradio.com. It's on the ticker down below. Okay, info@spacedoutradio.com. Get your VIP tickets. We are shutting down VIP tickets as of May 1st. So if you're planning on coming or you're still debating, now's the time to do it. We got great guests coming like Lorien Fenton, Science Bob, Melinda Leslie, Jim Goodall, Michael Schratt, Merle is going to be there, Carter Bouchard, many, many more are going to be there to hang out with you guys. Even Random Guy is going to be there. Yeah. So, hi, Philip Baca. How you doing? So make sure if you're planning on going, it's time.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cache. Cache is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. The Johnson family was on a road trip driving down a lonely highway at night. The moon was complete and the stars were out, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. The road seemed to stretch forever, with no sign of civilization. Suddenly, the car's headlights illuminated a figure on the side of the road. It was what looked to be a woman dressed in an old-fashioned gown with long, flowing hair. Mrs. Johnson gasped and asked her husband to pull over. But as they got closer, the figure suddenly vanished into thin air. The family was spooked but decided to continue on their journey. As they drove on, strange things began to happen in more earnest. The radio would switch on by itself, and they could hear whispers and footsteps coming from the back seat. The children were scared, and Mrs. Johnson was on the verge of tears. They realized that the woman they had seen on the side of the road was definitely a ghost. She had been killed in a car accident on the highway many years ago, and her spirit had been haunting the road ever since. The family tried to ignore the ghostly presence, but it became more and more persistent. The car's engine would suddenly fail, the headlights would flicker on and off, and they were trapped on this road with no escape from the ghost determined to torment them. Finally, the ghost revealed her true intentions. She wanted the family to suffer the same fate that she had, to die in a car accident on that same highway. The Johnsons were horrified and knew they had to escape quickly. They hit the gas pedal and sped down the street with the ghost chasing after them. But just as they thought they had escaped, they crashed into an abandoned car on the side of the road. The family was killed instantly, and, I'm assuming, their spirits joined their ghost haunting that highway for eternity. I'm driving down a deserted highway, surrounded by dense forest on both sides. It's getting late, and the sun has already set. I'm on my way after visiting a friend, and I'm exhausted. As I make my way through the winding roads just trying to get home, I hear a strange noise from the engine. The car starts to slow down, and before I knew it, it's completely stopped entirely. I tried to start the car up again, but it was no use. I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere, with no cell phone signal and no other vehicles in sight. I slowly began to crawl into a panic, wondering what to do. As I sit there in the darkness, I begin to hear strange noises coming from the forest. It sounds like something is moving through the trees, but I can't see anything at all. My heart starts to race as I realize I'm completely alone out here, with no way to defend myself. I'm kicking myself knowing I should have brought at least a crowbar or something. Suddenly, I see something move out of the corner of my eye. It's a shadowy figure, creeping closer and closer to my car, ever so slightly. Frantically, I try to start the engine again, but again it won't move. The figure is now right outside my window. I can see that this thing is definitely not human. It's definitely some sort of monster or beast. Its eyes are glowing red. Its face is twisted into a grotesque grin. I scream, but there's no one around to hear me. As the creature tries to break through the window, I realize I'm trapped. There's no way out, and I'm entirely at the mercy of this, well, whatever this is. I closed my eyes and prayed for a miracle, but the creature is gone when I open them again. I don't even know if it was real or just my imagination, but I don't care. Luckily, after I try to crank the car again, it luckily starts with a few sputters, and I drive away as fast as possible, vowing never to return to that cursed highway ever again.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, taking us on another weird and spooky journey each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio to kick off hour number 3. And if you want more stories just like that, you can head on over to Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube and check it on out. From the swamp to the stars, it is time for us to bring in little Timmy Senor and the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Little Timmy Senor, it's always good to have you here, my friend. How you been doing?
Been really good, bud. It's been beautiful weather here, so I've had some clear skies, some opportunities to get out with the fam and to search the stars for our alien friends.
Must be really nice. You know what it's been doing here? Snowing. Snowing. It is snowing like anything outside of SOR headquarters right now.
Yeah, the snow ate your power last night.
Well, the snow didn't do that. Some truck versus power pole, but that's okay.
Hardcore.
That's okay. You know, see, even Jerry in the chat room thinks you're Howie Mandel.
Well, he's close.
It's the dude from Deal or No Deal. What's going on? Yeah, well,
Might as well just like own it at this point.
You
Yep.
might as well.
How he
You might
looks
as
a lot
well.
like me.
Do you feel like things are starting to calm down in the drone and the balloon world, or do you think that we're still in the midst of this mess?
Yeah, I mean, the fervor is still going on. There's a lot of things going on, the past week to 10 days. And so, no, it's not out of the news yet. There's a lot of opinions flying around and a lot of conjecture. But unfortunately, we cannot get away from it as a topic in this UFO news again. But I think it's good that we are covering it because it is relevant. And, we've had a lot of statements from people that are also really relevant in the topic. Like Lou Elizondo came out with a very recent statement, and we'll talk about that. And so a few other nuggets and some surprises tonight. So we're going to keep it really close to the chest and on topic for everyone.
Here, let's talk about this Elizondo thing here for a second. I don't know if you have that on your list or not, but there's something about that bugs me. Because I've come out publicly and said I am an Elizondo fan. I am a supporter of his, and I think he's done a lot of good for moving ufology for as much as he's allowed to say. And I've also tried to coach people to say, look, read between the lines of what Lou is saying for the true story of what he cannot say. It's the same thing with what we say about Random Guy. Read between the lines. It's easy to do. But the one thing that I have troubles with is he made a statement basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, that when he left the ATIP program to join the Stars Academy, he was fed up. He had enough about all of these incursions that were happening over U.S. airspace. We were always led to believe that it was about UFOs with Lou and the whole UAP aspect. And the way he's been talking the last few days on social media especially is it doesn't seem like it really was about UFOs, that it was more about incursions with drones, balloons, and everything of the sort. Did you get that picture too, or is it just me being a little too skeptical?
I mean, we can get into this, and we can even, I can even read his quote. But this wasn't a surprise. This is the same information that Lou has been giving us the whole time, in support of research and getting more information on it, to be well informed before we jump to conclusions, and that there's going to be a lot more information to come. And his statement supported that. Now, I do understand kind of your hesitation to jump into support of this statement in particular. However, you have to understand that this is a really hot topic right now. And the fact is that all of the facts are still coming out. And so for him to get a statement in now is great. But let's consider for a moment the big picture and understand that, it's kind of hard to read in anything new. I mean, Lou was brought into this community because we had podcasters and people on the topic that were asking him questions, and To the Stars Academy released, a series of shows that highlighted him and his program. But it seems like there's a lot of this that he was a little bit drawn into this community. Yes, he did put himself there and insert himself via these videos, but let's also consider that we kept him here and kept the UFO topic at him, where he was always deferring to UAP and the fact that it's not all about UFO. We don't know what UFO is, but we can talk about what UAP is.
Just remember a couple things here, though, and I agree with you. I think what you're saying is a strong reality of his words. But I will say this, both him and Chris Mellon, a number of months ago, about a year ago now, stopped using the words Russia and China when they were talking about UFOs and these incidents that they were getting into. And now it just seems like it's not about UFOs. It's about UAP, which would be China, Russia.
The simple answer there, I think, would be that it's no longer covered by their NDAs. Now that it's in public, they're probably allowed to talk about that.
Could very well be. But either way, it still screams to me like an I told you so, which I have no problem doing or admitting. Here's the statement that Elizondo has read for us, okay? I'll read it for our fans here. The recent publicized incursions of our sovereign airspace are a reminder of what I have been saying for years, and the primary reason I resigned from my position as director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP. UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, are regularly flying with impunity in our nation's sovereign airspace and present an urgent national security threat. But individuals within our government remain staunchly opposed to properly investigating and acknowledging this matter. Many of these UAP display beyond next generation capabilities that defy what we know about physics, interfere with our military and nuclear platforms, and remain unidentified. We must ascertain the capability, intention, and origin of all these UAP at all costs. We cannot allow the antiquated stigma around UAP or inflexible mindsets within our government to prevent the American public from learning the truth, whatever that may be. It is time for the White House, the intelligence community, and our military to truly begin taking this matter seriously and start working together in the best interests of the American people. Thanks to patriotic leaders like Senator Rubio, Senator Gillibrand, Congressman Carson, Congressman Gallagher, Congressman Burchett, their staffs, and the members of our military who have reported what they have seen, we now have bipartisan support for positive change and recent UAP legislation in the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, that will pave the way. I am proud to have played a role in the creation of this historic legislation and remain deeply involved with the efforts to address this national security threat. Okay, so my question here now, though, is what is the threat? Now, we know when Chinese air balloons and drones come in to spy, that's a threat, okay, because they are looking for information. As far as we know, there is no threat with UFOs. So what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's very, creative wordage here, because nowhere in here does it say UFO. It's all UAP and narration thereof. And I think that if you remember, he really made a clear designation between UFO and UAP a while ago. And he even said that he wanted to get rid of the stigma and the old history of, or whatever he said. I don't remember the exact quote, but something about UFO and wanting to, separate it. And so I think here we are also seeing the separation. I think he still considers UAP things that could be anything from weather to balloons. And so he is classifying all of that stuff potentially as a hazard, as does Graves and a bunch of other people that are coming out here with kind of the military thought that things that are floating in the air, especially, 30,000 feet around that area, are potentially a hazard to pilots. And I think that this is kind of, yes, the I told you so, but at the same rate, it was coming at some point. We were going to have something that was going to interfere with our, the whole language of the paper that we got from Arrow. Everything that we've seen in the 2022 report was geared towards, the takedown of the questionable objects flying, right? Even in there, they had balloons specifically named as part of the program that they are going to be working on. So this is in their domain. And so when this happened, this was absolutely an I told you so from Elizondo, from the people that made sure that that wordage was in there. Elizondo and his team, remember, he was pivotal to getting this wordage in the 2022 UAP report. So just step back, look at the chain of events, and everything that you see and hear will make sense. You won't wonder why you're not seeing UFO signified here. Elizondo quoting here, it being an antiquated stigma. And that's going to be something that I'm going to talk about here a little bit later with something else that I'm going to bring up. But
I understand that, Tim. And
yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, because I think there's many ways that we can look at this, and maybe I'm splitting hairs too finely here. Okay. But as of right now, UFOs are not a threat. What we do know are a threat is spy balloons and spy drones, which has been happening for over 50, 60 years, like Random Guy said on this show last week and earlier this week. Okay, this is something that is cause for concern for the defense of North America. At this point, I really do believe that you have to separate the difference between the two, something that is man-made and something that is not.
Yes.
If it's not man-made, is it a threat? Because the way Elizondo has gone over it, Mellon has gone over it, Tom DeLonge brags about it, that UFOs are a threat to national security. And now we're learning that UAP is not so much about UFOs. And in this statement, it tells me that he's been telling the people for years, China, Russia, maybe Iran, and maybe North Korea and others have been sending these intelligence balloons or drones into our airspace, which does perceive a threat. It does. UFOs, as of right now, do not, because we don't know what they are, where they come from, how are they getting here, how are they taking off so quick. Now, that's not saying that UFOs aren't a defense directive that shouldn't be paid attention to, because they damn well should. But I think at this point, with this statement of Elizondo, you have to, in my opinion, draw a difference between the two. What is a UFO and what is a UAP? To me, a UAP is man-made.
Yep. Agreed. Or potentially natural, but explainable.
Sure.
Because we can, there's a few things in there. But you're absolutely 100% right, because I also want to consider the fact that anytime Lou was directly asked about UFOs or aliens, he does not give you a straight answer. It's not really something he may know specifically about. He may allude to historical events that he can point to, but other than things that he's been informed of directly, he doesn't really talk about it. And again, I want to say that he really does seem to focus more on the, like you're saying, the UAP, the stuff that is potentially man-made, but it's also in the purview. Now, they do as a group allude to UFO because it also is in that group of things, but I don't think they know anything about that. I think that that is something that they're still very much on the search for, but they don't want to confuse it with balloons and things like that. And that's why they took a sensitive approach. But now we're seeing how that stigmatized concept of UFO and how we have to be very sensitive about UFO and UAP is now getting muddied, because we're seeing the direct result of us tiptoeing around this topic and waiting so long to deal with the balloon. And they used the UFO topic as an excuse to do so. And so using the UFO stigma to hide this topic because pilots and military are encouraged not to report it is also another issue that we can't just sweep under the rug.
Absolutely.
We're not, that's another huge hindrance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Once again, I want to point out in Elizondo's statement, this is kind of what gets me, where he said, I've been saying this for years, and the primary reason I resigned from my position at ATIP, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, are regularly flying with impunity over our nation's sovereign airspace and present an urgent national security threat. Okay? And this is coming on the heels, once again, of the Chinese drones and balloons. That statement right there, people, should tell you point blank that this isn't business balloons that have been taken down. This isn't balloons or anything taken down over the Yukon or Alaska or Lake Huron. This is serious stuff. When I say read between the lines when it comes to Elizondo, this is exactly what I mean. What he's saying to you here is, we know these came from China or other aggressors of the United States around the world, and we need to make sure that this stuff does not happen, because we don't need another Pearl Harbor. We don't need another 9/11. And if we don't tighten up our airspace, it's going to happen. But once again, that is for human-made objects, not UFOs, in my opinion. Tim, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. When we come back from the break on the UFO report, we're going to get into spy balloons, diplomatic crisis, missiles that cost $400,000 a piece, and so much more on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We very much appreciate your ears. Final half hour of the show is right after this. 250 people in here. Just want to let you all know that after the show, we will be doing a little bit of overtime with Random Guy and Tim regarding all things weird, strange. We'll take your questions as well in the chat room. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning us in. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell. We'd very much appreciate it. Leave a comment after the show. Let us know what you think. You know what I want to start doing, guys? And I saw this other show doing it today on YouTube, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I want to start reading your comments from the show the night before. So, for instance, tonight I would read the comments on Monday. I'm thinking about adding that to the end of the show. That way we get more interaction with you guys or the people who maybe can't listen live. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. And if you could, for our algorithms, give us a thumbs up or down. We'd greatly appreciate it. 250 people in here. It would be nice to hit about 150 to 180 in thumbs up, if you wouldn't mind. Or even 200. Timmy.
It's so funny you should say that. I actually had saved and pasted a comment from somebody from our last show. And for real, and I have it here. I'm going to read it at some point because it was a great comment. So, yeah, dude, great minds are working. So, well, at least your great mind, and I just got lucky. But
you got a brilliant mind, my friend. You are way more thorough. I'm way more emotional.
I do take a lot of notes. I make sure you know what we're doing. I try to keep you on what I'm up to at least.
You're a good guy, Timmy.
I give you my report. This guy. What do you think, Timmy Leaks?
I like Timmy Leaks. Timmy Leaks.
I got one.
I'd like to see you grow a mustache.
No, you wouldn't. No.
Yeah.
You'd hate it. You would hate it.
No, I wouldn't.
I look silly with it. I look like I should be in college, or, with a goatee. Because I don't know. It's not my look.
I got one more question for you. When we come back.
Yeah. Mustache catch too many big fish, brah.
Nick Kneecaps. I have 3 tattoos. I have my daughter's names, and I have Marvin the Martian on my leg.
Of course you do.
Which lately, I'll be honest with you, I have been itching for more tattoos.
I was thinking you were going to be itching your Marvin the Martian tattoo. I was going to laugh.
No.
You want more tattoos? That's great. Didn't we almost get a tattoo together? Oh, whoa.
Dry Toast is here. Best name on YouTube. Dry Toast. It's fantastic. Kamikaze Karaoke over on Twitch. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Dave and I were like drunk girls one night. Like, let's go get tattoos. Not that, I'm sorry, drunk teenagers is what I really meant. Because it's not just girls, drunk guys do it too. But yeah, drunk teenagers, we were like going to run across the street and get matching tats. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's think this through. Oh my gosh, the resolve.
I hear you.
Your chat's like, what? You should have done it.
SJ, how you doing? I'm hungry.
Do you speak more than one language?
No. I can understand some French.
Right. You kind of have to up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Random guy. Whoa.
We're gonna get random guy a big tramp stamp SOR tattoo on his lower back.
Probably do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Big owl right on his lower back with the microphone coming out of the crack of his ass.
That's commitment.
That's total commitment. Right? Ain't that right, Meaty Toes? You like that? Scowling Greg O'Brien. How you doing, buddy? All right, here we go, everyone. Round at third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The UFO Report continues with our main Timbit, Tim Senor here from beautiful Oregon, USA. What town are you in?
I'm in Salem, in the capital.
Salem, America.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Salem, America. That's where you are.
Yeah.
And all right, UFOs becoming a diplomatic crisis. What do you got going on here, man?
Yeah, and so we're going to look into how a fog of questions over a spy balloon and UFOs fed a diplomatic crisis. And so U.S. officials now suspect that the spy balloon was sent on a mission to go across bases overlooking Guam and Hawaii, and other downed objects were not necessarily surveillance machines. And so Washington's evolving view reflects U.S. and Chinese difficulties in discerning each other's intentions. And so I'm just going to breeze through an article today that I was looking at from the New York Times, where we are highlighting some of the other murky actions that have challenged the U.S. analysts trying to read Chinese intentions. And so on January 28th, when the balloon approached the Aleutian Islands in the American airspace over Alaska in its off-course trajectory, the balloon's self-destruct function did not activate, and U.S. officials are hypothesizing on that. And so Chinese operators may not have wanted to destroy the balloon. It is also possible that they had attempted to trigger the self-destruct mechanism and it just failed. And so with the Chinese spy balloon showdown, we see the discovery of a Chinese surveillance balloon floating over the United States, adding to the rising tensions between the two superpowers. And so as tensions rise in the aftermath of the U.S. downing of the Chinese spy balloon on February 4th, and the 3 unidentified flying objects a week later, the nations have traded accusations over their spying programs. China's reaction in Beijing has tried to play down the balloon incident, but that is getting harder to do as alarm and accusations mount. At home, China has sought to cast the controversy as a symptom of U.S. decline. And so unidentified objects, as more identified objects are shot down, in the recent days, experts are now warning that there was endless array of potential targets crowding America's skies. And so in dismay in Asia, the balloon saga has brought a wave of disappointment and fear, a region whose security and prosperity are especially vulnerable due to flare-ups between the two superpowers. And so just to kind of wrap things up here, the Chinese operators and officials did not take any immediate action after the two top American diplomats, Blinken and Sherman, both issued a formal démarche to senior Chinese diplomat Zhu Haoqin at the State Department on February 1st about the balloon, telling him his government had to do something about it. And so Mr. Zhu appeared to be taken by surprise, according to some U.S. officials. But then more than 24 hours later and a half a day after the Pentagon announced the existence of the balloon, the Chinese foreign ministry officials in Beijing spoke privately to diplomats in the U.S. embassy, telling them that the balloon was a harmless civilian machine that had gone off course. Dave, your first reactions before we get into the second part of this piece that we are talking about right now?
Well, I always try to look at things diplomatically because I am a diplomat of the UFO woo. And I think it's posturing. I think we're seeing posturing being played out within the media. I think we're seeing posturing being played out within the sources of the story. Does it cause a diplomatic crisis? Absolutely it does. Right? Because, when you get caught doing something red-handed, you get scolded for it, whether it's a parent, whether, his kids, you stole a pack of gum from the corner store and got caught, or whatever it may be. You're going to get your hand slapped. And I think that's what we're seeing now. But, China is such a different animal here, because literally we're looking at a couple $1 trillion a year on estimate of trade between North American countries and the Chinese each and every year. Whether it's raw logs, oil, toys, sports equipment, couches, fridges, computer chips, whatever it may be. They need us as much as we need them. And if something happened militarily, it would destroy all of North America. It would destroy China financially. We would be hurting big time here. We may not want to admit it, but we think inflation's bad now. Can you just imagine what it would happen if this thing blew up? So, I mean, this is an international mess here, whether we want to look at it or not. But the truth of what actually happened, unfortunately, we'll never know.
That's right. You're absolutely 100% right. And for that matter, there are still objects that are unknown that were downed by our U.S. military. And so UFO downed by a $400,000 missile, and it may have been simply a $12 hobby balloon. Why are we spending all this money to take out the trash, Dave?
Well, first off, military products, if the American public is going to complain about a $400,000 AIM-9X missile, I would really hate to see the American public figure out that each cruise missile costs just over $1 million. And when we saw those days of the first Gulf War, and George Bush said, go, and they started firing. I think the first day they fired like 60 to 100 cruise missiles into Baghdad and Riyadh. That was $100 million worth of missiles. And you're complaining about a $400,000 Sidewinder? Now, this is where the propaganda gets in. On a $12 hobby balloon, a jet fighter is not going to engage a $12 hobby balloon or a kite or what can you call it? A remote control airplane, an RC airplane. They're not going to do that. They know what they were looking at. All the pilot, if it was a $12 children's hobby balloon, you know what happens when the pilot flies by it at first? They're going to try and identify it. That's it. They're going to try and identify it. And to sit there and say that, they shot down a $12 hobby balloon, anybody who buys that, come see me, because I have a bridge in the middle of the desert that I would like to sell you for cheap. Only 60 months worth of payments at $1,000 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, and furthering in on that, just yesterday, so February 16th, which is Thursday, Canadian Mounties suspended the search for the UFO that was shot down over Lake Huron. And so the debris from that object that was shot down on Sunday will now be suspended. And so, in a statement, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police attributed the halt to poor weather conditions and a slim chance of finding anything in the 23,000 square foot lake, parts of which can be as deep as 750 feet. And so, in a quote, they're saying, after conducting an extensive search in the Lake Huron area with the assistance of the Canadian Coast Guard and other domestic and international partners, a decision was reached to suspend the search due to several factors, including deteriorating weather and the low probability of recovery. So the Mounties added that the search and recovery efforts continue in Canada's Yukon Territory for a different object shot down on Saturday, despite harsh conditions. And in this quote, the conditions are extremely challenging, with a very large search area spanning 3,000 square kilometers and consisting of rugged and mountainous terrain, with a high level of snowpack and harsh winter conditions. So this investigation is in its very early stages and will take time. So it's getting different information on retrieval, Dave, but it's sounding like it's going to be some hard going. Do you have any insight or thoughts on these most recent reports that we're now getting about the suspension of the search?
Yes, I think Canada's playing the espionage game as well. Let me tell you why. Two things. Number one, when that thing was shot down, whatever it was, we know it was cylindrical. We know it was about the size of a small car. We were told that it was being tracked by a CP-140 Aurora, which is the Canadian equivalent of the United States Navy P-3 Orion. The job of the people on that aircraft is to track. They know the GPS coordinates of where that thing was shot down. So to say that they are searching a 30,000 square kilometer or a 3,000 square kilometer area doesn't make sense. Now, here's the other thing. I can understand weather being an issue up there to get helicopters in to try and get it. I do believe they have it. They knew where it was because immediately when it was shot down, Prime Minister Trudeau stated that Canada would handle all full recovery efforts. You have 3 jet fighters in the sky plus a radar operating aircraft. They know the coordinates of where it went down. Number 2, if that thing was blackened by the explosion of being shot down, you know what sticks out like a sore thumb in snow? Something black. And that object would be darkened by the explosion. And unless there is that much powder up on the mountains there right now, that when it hit the ground, it went poof, and all the snow went shooting up in the air and covered the object and or caused an avalanche to roll over top of the object, that is the only 2 ways that I could see this object not being recovered. I mean, hell, even if it landed on a lake, a frozen lake, the ice there is so thick between, we'll put it this way. In my area, we have lakes with 2 to 3 feet of ice on them. People driving their vehicles all over the lakes. Up there, it gets much colder, darker, and the water freezes much thicker. About 3 to 5 feet, if not more. That's why they send semi-trucks with heavy loads onto the ice. Okay? So this is what doesn't make sense. I think they know where it is. I think they already have it. Just like a $12 child's balloon that you spend a $400,000 missile on, Now you're going to say your GPS coordinates are not working when you said that you're going to recover it? Doesn't make sense.
Right.
No, there's something very suspicious going on here. Very suspicious.
And Dave, you're 100% not alone. Steve Bassett, who is Washington, D.C.'s UFO lobbyist, not only is he not buying into the claims that recovering the wreckage from the recent airborne objects is impossible, but he also doesn't buy the White House's extraterrestrial denial. And so in the 11 days since 4 different airborne objects, one believed to be Chinese spy balloon and the others of unknown origin, were shot down, Americans have been captivated by the mystery playing out in the sky. Few, however, have been following the developments with more interest than Washington's UFO lobbyist, Stephen Bassett. And over the past quarter century, Bassett has pushed the federal government to take the issue of UFOs more seriously. And so in this article, they reached out to Bassett for his thoughts on airborne objects, and we're going to discuss that here. And in his quote, he's saying that on Monday, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. And when asked their response to that, he's saying, think about the language. They're not saying there is an extraterrestrial connection. They're saying there's no indication yet. So it's not a false statement, but it does not rule out extraterrestrials at all. So they're playing this carefully, and that is to be understood. And when asked what he thought these airborne objects were, he says that, I don't know. I have theories. But until the government comes forward with information regarding what they've seen, plus gun camera footage, which you know they took, plus the wreckage analysis, we can't know. And so furthering on, he says, I do know that there was a wonderful article in CNN Politics headlined, Debris of Downed Objects May Never Be Recovered, Officials Warn as White House Tries to Tamp Down on Conspiracies. And that official is, of course, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, which is an extraordinary statement to make. I mean, really, when it comes to recovering stuff, we're really good at it, particularly when we know the exact area where the thing crashed. And we recovered the Titanic. So we've recovered submarines. So the idea that this debris may never be recovered is, of course, utterly ludicrous.
Yes.
And yeah, so he is absolutely in agreement with you. And continuing his quote here, when he was asked, does the attention surrounding the most recent incidents impact the agenda on UFOs in Washington? He says it's actually turning up the heat for additional hearings. And it's also demonstrating to the press that it's ready to jump all over anything like this. And that tells the Pentagon, well, we can't just keep sitting on this. And it also says the same thing to the White House. So where we're heading is the real deal, meaning that the Senate Intelligence Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Armed Services Committee, and the House Armed Service Committee are going to bring primarily military witnesses to testify about these events and evidence. And that's where this thing has been going. And that's where it needs to go. And so once those hearings start, we are kind of in the end game. And in the White House, confirmation of the presence of UFOs and extraterrestrials in the universe is of the utmost importance. And so this is great because he goes into a second explanation, which I'll just kind of wrap up here, where he says, now the second explanation for what's going on here is where it gets interesting because we're moving so quickly towards hearings. We're in the final days of the truth embargo. Have the ETs decided to deliberately slow down some of their drone-type crafts so that we could shoot them down in order to goose this whole process of holding additional Congress hearings forward? He doesn't know, but he likes to hear things like that. And we don't think that we can recover the records. That gets his attention as well. In this quote, he says, so this thing still remains unknown. It's unprecedented and it's exciting. And as long as it advances and increases the intensity and pressure to get the hearings that we've been waiting for, the real hearings, the witness hearings, then it's wonderful.
We got about 90 seconds left, and I want to make this quick comment to you. And I want to thank Random Guy for pointing this out earlier. He was checking up on Enigma Labs, and apparently Enigma Labs has turned off on Twitter your opportunity to reply unless they are following you and subscribe to your Twitter handle. Otherwise, you can no longer comment on Enigma stories. You have to retweet and ask your question. Now, Tim, we've seen a few shady things from this group already. Should we expect more things like this to continue from this UFO group?
Yeah, if you're starting to see them clutch down on controls just in Twitter, that's definitely throwing up red flags that they're already starting to refine who can get in touch and what they want to hear, and but they don't really want to hear responses. That is not good news. But it doesn't mean that they're closing down or anything in like any communication way. I don't know what that really means. That's relatively new information for me. It's not good news by any stretch of the imagination.
To me, it shines more shade on everything.
Definitely.
It really does. And I don't like that. I mean, ufology, we want transparency. We talk about disclosure, and now we have a major company like Enigma Labs who doesn't want disclosure. They want it all for themselves, and they will cut the public out of everything. Another reason, in my opinion, not to trust this group. Bad press move from a person who runs their press department who's never worked in media before. So, on that note, Tim, thank you. We'll see you in overtime. And to our radio audience, what a great show tonight. Thank you to Tim. Thank you to Swamp Dweller, Lorien Fenton for a wonderful, wonderful show. We had a great time talking to UFOs tonight. Indeed. Oh, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, LinkedIn, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. There we be. Hi, Timmy.
Hello.
Oh, there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Random guy.
Random guy.
Hanging on by a thread.
Oh, I'm Random Guy.
Theraflu guy. Theraflu guy.
I was responding to a bunch of Twitter DMs. I'll say that it's definitely moving the right direction. Less weirdos and more good conversation.
good.
I want to say thank you for pointing out that on Twitter about Enigma Labs shutting down their responses. To me, that bugs me. It bugs me big time because to me, it feels like they're hiding something.
I think it's more of they want to procure an echo chamber, probably, so that this way they can collate and they can kind of stop trolls, they can stop bots, they can prevent a lot of things from. I mean, if I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt as a startup, it's a way to control the narrative that doesn't let false things control your threads when you come up in Twitter. If we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Now, the other side of that is you're not allowing for free discourse and exchange of information, which if you're trying to be a transparent organization for the betterment of all of society as they claim to be, then that's not the way to do that either.
I just think it fits the mold. It fits the pattern.
Yeah. Control, isolation. Yep. Who knows, man? Who knows anymore?
Yeah, and that lame statement that they came out with their description of the 4 objects, that they posted on their website, that was absolutely the lamest thing. What was it with a little question mark?
I feel like my
altitude, where spotted.
My 7-year-old drew a better articulate chart about the UFO stuff.
I mean, come on. You can do better than that.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely pathetic. How much time did they spend on that? That was copy and pasted. There's no new information in that whatsoever. Is that what they want as far as reports go? That's it?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's pretty
weak sauce. Weak sauce.
It's pretty, leaves a lot to be desired, right?
It does indeed.
I mean, I track my meals better than that, and I'm fat. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, it tells me a lot of things, that you're actually more organized than I thought. So that's cool. I've been in your car, so it doesn't really even out, but okay.
Did you feel safe for your life in my car?
I felt safe. At the same rate, I knew something could happen any second that would blow my mind. So that's
why everybody gets a gun when you're in my car.
Or at least he tells you where they are in case. There's one right between your knees. All right. Good stuff. So I've got a couple nuggets for you guys whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, because I know often we've got questions in the audience right off the bat.
Let's do it.
Okay. So what I wanted to kind of bring up tonight as my story of, like, my little backstory or whatever you want to call it. There was an interview that I took notes on with Travis Taylor, and he came out and spoke on his position of what's going on in the news and in the skies. And just to recap, Travis Taylor is the chief scientist from the UAP task force. And so he came out with his opinion that these were signals, intelligence balloons collecting communication signals that record and send via sat phone link, potentially using an AI system that goes through the data and finds what is of use to it. And it also could potentially be used to break into systems and hack our communication signal. And then he goes on further to say, and everything I'm saying is a quote of his. He says that it has an estimated payload. One of them in particular had an estimated payload capacity of 1,000 pounds or a ton. And in this quote, he says, you could put a nuke on a system like that, or anything that came out of Wuhan labs, and put it in canisters and drop it across the jet stream and do mass seeding across the country. And further goes on to point out that there's a region in our atmosphere from 50,000 feet up to 100,000 feet where we don't have defense systems designed to take out assets at that level and shoot them down. And so often it can be unclear under which arm of our government the military it's often unclear under which arm of our government's military the objects fall under. And we saw that in particular, and this is actually my opinion here, I'm interjecting. We saw that in particular with the response from Space Force and Space Command, how they had nothing to say on it since it was not under their purview. And they considered the object between 30 to 65,000 feet, which is not in their ID. And so the final thing that Travis had to say was that it's possible to set up that these were sent up with munitions to destroy themselves if discovered, and they potentially partially worked or didn't work at all. But he wanted to emphasize a few other things, that this potentially, this whole op was hidden, by stigma, using the UFO stigma to hide this topic, because pilots and military are often even encouraged not to report on it. And so I was wanting to discuss the fact that his opinion here, now considering again, he's the chief scientist for the UAP task force, and he was in his previous life also a science fiction writer that was based on hypothesis of real science. So, what to do in case of alien attack, science fiction sort of thing. He wants to, and I want to talk about the situational awareness here, and the fact that it feels like he's installing fear and reinforcing the threat narrative. And why is this kind of the position that he's taking? And really, we're hearing nothing else from him in any positive way. He's actually talking about this in a real threatening way. And so let's get your insight, guys, please.
Start with the random guy.
Well, I mean, he basically just recapped everything that we've recapped the last week on the show, right? All the potential, all the possibilities.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't think he was wrong. He basically just gave a list of every possible thing that it could be. So I don't think there's a lot of conflict in anything he said. The only reason that we're even talking about it, once we figured out it's not extraterrestrial and confirm that, is to decide, is it a threat? And what level of a threat is it? So as he laid out, and you guys have laid out the last week with multiple guests, I'm pretty sure we're all aware of what the threat potentials were and are, and why it needed to be dealt with. Some little things I disagree with, that it doesn't matter operationally, as far as like AI uplinking to SATCOM. Well, they could send it that data in real time almost and send it all. It doesn't need to sort it on the actual whatever on the device itself, but that's little minor stuff. But overall, yeah, it's all bad. It's all bad juju. We knew what that thing was. At least let's just deal with the first one with that assumption. We knew what it was. We tracked it the whole time. We knew what its potential was, and it was allowed to continue. Now, again, I fall back to devil's advocate. They said they jammed it. They said they gleaned intelligence by monitoring it. Sure, I'll take them at their word. That's definitely possible. There's no reason to doubt that happened. Does it look awkward? Yeah. Is it embarrassing? Yeah. But do I have to trust them at the end of the day? Yeah. Because we have the ability to do what they said we did. So since we know it was tracked before it entered our airspace, through the entire time it was through our airspace, then I have to take them at their word. The only question I have, and the only gap in that logic, is it wasn't escorted by our stuff the whole time. It did have a time where it was left to its own devices, so to speak. So that's the only part of that logic that makes me think, so they just let it do what it wanted to do until it got to a certain point, and then it was unacceptable when it went over a certain site. Again, I'm not a policymaker, but that doesn't make sense. If you know what it is, you should be on top of that thing the whole time, monitoring it in person with an aircraft, jamming it, getting what you need off of it, and then letting it be.
Random guy, I have a question for you. Do you believe that one or two of these drones have not been recovered?
I mean,
Or do you
it's
think
possible.
the story?
It's possible, but unlikely. I don't believe, in my heart of hearts, I have to believe they got all things. Or if they didn't, they intentionally didn't recover them because they knew what they were and they knew they're benign. And it was just a show of force, if that's the story you want to go with. I mean, like I said, the first one, the way it ended politically. At that point, they didn't even have to shoot it down. It didn't matter. It was already gone. It was, the reason it got shot down was so that Biden could shake his fist at it, right? It's already over the ocean at that point. So at that point, who cares? So if you're going to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy that all of this was political posturing and whatnot, then it could have been, we could have shot down any number of things, our own stuff, a hobby balloon, whatever. They could have just picked some stuff. I mean, we'll never know for sure, but I would have to assume, as you were talking about earlier, they know exactly within a small grid where this stuff is. It's not 3,000 square miles. Get out of here. Like,
and those radars on those P3 Orions or CP-140 Auroras up here in Canada, same plane, different call sign. I mean, those cameras on there and the detectors on there, they're pretty advanced, correct?
well, yeah. I mean, that's why they do the job they do. They didn't send a Cessna up there with a GoPro.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is they would have GPS coordinates. They would have all that.
Yeah. They're tracked within like 10 meters of the earth that they're flying over.
Just adds to the propaganda game right now.
If you're talking about, no, I was just saying, so you shoot something, it's going to free fall. It's going to go to wind. I mean, altitude, it's going to get carried, but all that stuff can be calculated. And there's no way they just shot it down and just said, oh, we'll go look for it later. Somebody spotted it. They had to have spotters on it. Like, they know. Even if they couldn't get to it right away, they know. So I'm not buying that either.
And was it just conveniently timed debris in the air they were able to scope? And then this was a show of force? Or do you think it was like real objects that were of interest and we just will never get the truth because they're just going to be able to call them objects that we can't recover at this point?
I'm split. The information I got was obviously the first one. We all know what it was. The one that was off of Alaska. I've talked to people that are stationed up there, and they're convinced that was one of our adversaries' assets. Exactly what type, unknown. And then the other two, I honestly don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Be right back, boys.
But by the descriptions, and we can even just go by the really lame ones that Enigma has given us. So for example, the one that object number 2, the one that was shot down at 40,000 feet over Alaska, February 9th, over Dead Horse, Alaska, the size of a small car does not resemble the Chinese reconnaissance balloon. Right. Not the cylinder and not the one with the strings. Okay. So that one out of all of them, I had heard the size of an ATV in particular. So not only was it hard to take down, but when they did, they're not going to recover it. But that one out of all of them has the least description. Have you heard any description at all on that object in particular that can lead us down any paths?
No, if you're asking for like design characteristic information, I can't help you with that. I can just say that this is a new one to me. I've heard and seen a lot of things. This whole last week was it's crazy. And I think that's why everybody, even, you know, the politicians are freaking out about it, because we're just like, I think kind of everybody knew about the balloon thing and in some capacity. Like, you would at least understand that the potential was there for this. But to have so many different sizes and shapes, and it was laid out almost, I don't want to say intentionally, but perfectly to go along with the story as it developed, right? They just kept popping up one after the other, and then immediately ceased and desisted once they got, like, almost like once there was enough of an event that they could call it an event and had a show of strength, show of force and all that. And then all of a sudden it just, and I told you this many times, I tweeted countdown till you never hear about this again. And I said that before Biden even spoke. I told you Biden would speak. I'm telling you, it just, there's something to it, but we're not going to know. And that's the sucky part. But I have faith, 100% faith, telling at least the SOR crowd it's not aliens. So if it's not aliens and it's just another government posturing, espionage, yada, 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 we have thousands of those a year, right? That we go through just on an outside of the UFO world, just as normal humans living here and caring about our national defense. And so to me, it's going to be chalked up to one of those. They're not going to show us the videos. They're not going to show us much of anything. But we know it's not aliens. So if we know it's not aliens, and we know it's not, at least right now, an imminent threat, it's kind of like you just got to shrug and drink your coffee. Unfortunately, it's a great thing to talk about.
Right.
But then you run out of we've run out of ways to go with it, though. You know what I mean? That's why I know it'll fade away. We're not going to be talking about this on SOR in 2 weeks. I guarantee it. Unless some crazy development happens, you know, we'll be moved on finally.
And so, just reading Elizondo's position tonight, specifically the way he kind of throws the UFO community under the bus a little bit by talking about the antiquated stigma around UAP, or the inflexible mindsets within the government on this topic, and kind of blames maybe the UFO community for throwing that stigma there. Do you kind of feel like that's underlying there? And what do you think's going on?
I actually took what he said to mean the opposite.
Okay.
The way I read his comment, and I could be wrong, I think I agree with Dave partially in that he was deviating. He wanted to really focus on the foreign threat aspect of UAPs, right? He definitely wanted to delineate this event and his statement from anything to do with UFO or extraterrestrial. That's originally what you could tell. That's the intent. However, when he says the stigma, what I think is he means the stigma of people coming forward and the government laughing at them, or people being mocked, encouraged not to talk about things. So I took it as him basically taking a shot as all the people that want to silence the whistleblowers and the witness and the experiencers. That's how I interpreted that. So maybe I read it wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Actually,
that's how I took what he was saying, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I mean, the wordage, I've seen it on Twitter, that, you know, the way I stated it. So I'm glad that you came out that way, because that is honestly the way I think it was meant to be interpreted.
He basically said, look at me. I mean, he took a victory lap. This is what I've been talking about as an example, because at the end of the day, the government doesn't care about UFOs. They don't care about aliens. They care about threats. So it's almost like he's Trojan horsing funding and support for UFOs alien research by shoehorning it into the box of a threat to get those funds and to get people to care about it. And if that's what it takes, it's great, right?
Yeah. So was this kind of a win for that community, if you want to call it that? Because now we're going to see, like, you know, we were talking about earlier on the show that we're going to see more funding, we're going to see more attention. Now we're going to see this topic kind of taken a little seriously. Even if it is balloons, it's still UAP. We need to know. So let's spend more money on it. So, I mean, what is the likelihood that this was like just one of those things that was perfectly timed and another excuse to spend money a certain way?
Are there any coincidences? Really? I mean, the only angle, like I said, you got to go one of two ways with this. You either got to follow the facts and be reasonable and let it play out. I mean, it's fun for us to speculate the hell out of it. I enjoy it. It's fun. But we either need to sit back and see what happens, or you can be a complete cynic and be like, okay, I'll connect all the dots right here for you. Enigma comes out, right? They have this, unknown black hole of connections that are automatically plugged in with Arrow, NASA, the government, everything out the jump. How would a company like that get funding? Oh, I know. You know what I mean? And it's like, so like you either adopt that way of thinking that this is all coordinated and that it's all a scam, a ruse, whatever, to get money and control for nefarious purposes and the elites or whoever's in charge, or we can slow our roll a little bit and be like, well, first of all, we don't trust anybody till you prove we can trust you. But also secondary, I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to let you guys mess up, and then I'm going to judge you. We could also do that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. And now Dave is back. We should probably talk about the elephant in the room, MUFON, right? Since we're talking about Enigma.
I wanted to get in before we get into that. I'd
Sure.
like to get into random guy, your thoughts on Lou Elizondo's comment that this was the reason why he left the ATIP program, was because of all this unidentified aerial phenomena that was being spotted over the continental United States and North America, for that matter. And for a long time he was talking UFOs, that this wasn't Russia, this wasn't China, it was UFOs. And now all of a sudden, in that statement that he wrote out today, to me it stated that it had nothing to do with UFOs. It had to do with incursions in our airspace by other countries and foreign adversaries.
Yeah,
What's your thought on that?
we just actually covered this whole thing while you were gone. So I'll just briefly summarize. I was just saying, I think he was basically taking a victory lap and that he wanted to get recognition for what he's doing. And you came in on the tail end of that conversation, but more or less, I feel that he intentionally is wrapping the foreign threat or the UFO stuff, let's say extraterrestrial stuff, or potentiality of that. He's wrapping that into foreign threats, because I don't think the government would fund or care for a search for UFOs or aliens. So he knows that. So if he says, look, guys, this is what I'm talking about, they're out to get us and now we're proving it, bring us more money. And then it's like, well, you're up there looking for balloons, why don't we look for Tic Tacs and this and that and the other, right? That, I think that's really the methodology he's using, which is great and it's smart.
Excellent. Excellent. Go ahead, Timmy.
I was wondering if your opinion had changed on the new acquisition to the board. If you've gotten any information on the new acquisition to the MUFON chairman or in the board position.
I have not, and that's why I asked Lorien Fenton that question during the show.
Right.
I do know that there is a lot of concern within members of MUFON, especially longtime members of MUFON, about this, about trying to put it all together.
Could she potentially be planning to stand alongside Stephen Bassett?
I don't think so. But I think there's a lot of people within MUFON who would like some answers,
clarity.
I think that they feel like they would like to kind of know why this lobbyist has been added to the board of directors, which in general, it's a smart move by MUFON. It is a smart move by MUFON to do that. But considering the situation. What does this lady know about UFOs? What does she know about Chinese drones? Hey, weird, stranger things have happened. Enigma hires a press person who's never worked in press before. Right? I mean, that's the world we live in. I mean, we're not going to get the answers that we want, especially if they don't make sense. But I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. And I think it really shows the direction that Dave McDonald wants to take MUFON. He wants MUFON to be that civilian source of information with the United States government. I don't think that's correct. That's a personal thing. And, but others out there are like, hey, this will only strengthen the name of MUFON, and others are very concerned that they've sold out after 50 some years that they've sold out. So I really don't know where to go with it.
Yeah. After last week, or our last show Wednesday, when I was flooding my love and support to MUFON, at the end of that show, one of your listeners decided to leave a remark that I felt had such sharp insight, I couldn't help but share it. And so with your permission, is it okay if I share one of your listeners' quotes?
Yeah, go right ahead. Just mention their name.
So it's just it looks very anonymous. So potentially Tan is the first name. And I'll just leave it there for now because it gets a little deep. And it's easily found because it's in the show notes, or it's in the replies and chat of the post notes of last Wednesday's show.
Sure.
So this is the comment. Denny Blair, former DNI, once said his primary purpose is to keep the classified intelligence aligned to the open source world, adding only nuance, access, and highly unique information relative, meaning MUFON is an open source about UFO. If it becomes corrupted again, the small portion of classified UFO data, then you would have no direction and no means for engaging the issue. So then the classified element will corrupt the truest open voice view of the UFO issue, and as a people, we will lose the perspective. So if anyone thinks MUFON getting closer to government is of value added, then you may not know the entire history and the perspective and the entrenched knowledge that the UFO subject has in the subculture of human psyche. It's a really deep thought, but I think it poses an absolutely decisive view of your point, Dave, of how to be very careful about showing such important information, of which some of it is classified. Let's just go ahead and consider that possible. And so we don't want that corrupted. And the potential handshake with the government could do so, especially like this person is saying, they pick and choose, cherry pick, and only take one perspective when they're using the data. It could be used against the truth.
Could very well be. Could very well be. The minute government gets involved in anything, they screw it up. One way or another, they screw it up. Doesn't matter whether it's bicycles or UFOs. And I just don't understand why MUFON would want to play that game with the U.S. government. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's pure ego. And that there are certain people within the MUFON board of directors who want to be invited to the UFO table at DC. And they're doing it all for themselves and not for the betterment of the group. And for people listening to this, I always like to preface this. You have to divide the MUFON's board of directors from the state directors and the people who do the boots on ground. The people who are doing the boots on ground and the state directors are doing very, very well. They have a real passion for tracking down these UFO stories, okay, and reporting on them. That's why they're doing it. That's why they paid for training, is to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. The problem that we have is we have no idea where the board of directors sits. We have no idea what they're up to. And maybe that's our fault, Tim. Maybe that's our fault because us as media outlets or alternative media outlets have not called MUFON to get Dave McDonald on the air and say, what's going on here, Dave?
It's a great idea.
You got a lot of people pissed off with you right now. Maybe that's what we need to do.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, man. Let's live the change. Let's do that. I think it's a great idea. You've been really quiet, RG. Are you chugging Theraflu over there, or are you doing okay, bud?
I'm just making tea. Turn my mic off.
Kind of tea. You look like a chamomile kind of guy.
More of a bourbon type of guy, but you got to do what you got to do when you can't breathe.
What are your thoughts on MUFON collaborating and looking to generate funds through a collaboration with the government? Again.
Me?
Yeah.
I told you, man, I'm not a UFO guy. So like,
okay.
I understand what MUFON is. I understand how the organization works to a degree, but I don't know these people the way you guys do. You guys seem to know the personalities and the individuals involved. So I don't know what their motivations are. All I know is that anytime any organization lets somebody get power or money, it's tempting. So it's always a consideration. I don't know these people enough to make that decision. With a government side, it's a lot easier. Or a private business that was built around making a profit. If it was Google, wanted to get in the business of researching aliens because they had all this great AI and power, I'd be like, well, we know what their motivation is to make cash, right? I don't know what these people's motivation are, because to me, MUFON always stood for something that was for the greater good. It wasn't about a for-profit organization. So if that's changing, then that's kind of sad. Then somebody needs to take that space back. But I don't know the people involved to know what their actual true intentions would be.
Do guys like Lou Elizondo or Travis Taylor kind of have a pre-programmed answer leading towards this threat narrative thing? Because it always seems like it's woven in whenever the guys from these teams speak. Is that, I mean, I know I kind of asked before, and I know it's kind of like seeming like they're trying to get more attention towards this topic, but do you feel like there's any potential that they have insight of the reality of there really being an alien presence, and that they're just trying to gear money towards that, forcing that truth at some point? Like, do you still feel like the UFO is the carrot at the very end of the stick still, or is that gone now?
No, I think it's there, but I think the reason that you have guys like Taylor's like an actual like scientist, right? And Lou was like an actual government dude. I've worked around a ton of scientists, a ton of engineers, a ton of hardcore government people with every agency. And one thing I've learned is a lot of these guys only have like one mode. Like, they're not good at telling jokes. Like, they're not, like, they're just, and I don't know these individuals, but I'm just saying, like, as a whole, dudes that are really smart, are really good at their job, and they have a really serious job. It's like they isolate and they use very precise words to articulate what they want to say, because they do not want to be misinterpreted. So I think a lot of that rubs us normal people the wrong way, because we're like, dude, show some emotion, give us some inflection, let us understand what your intensity is breeding besides just your words. Because they're like, here's my statement, XYZ, wasn't that clear? And it's like, no, bro. But they're usually highly intelligent, highly capable people. This is just the way they speak.
Right.
I feel like the end result, I'm giving Lou at least the benefit of the doubt that, like I said, if you interpret his statement in the way that I interpreted it, is he's aware that this is not going anywhere as a UFO/alien thing. So if his real mission is in fact to help that community, which it may not be, maybe he doesn't give a crap. Maybe he really just wanted to end. Maybe he's Ed Snowdening it and just wanted people to be aware of threats, and this was his way to get his end game, to get more attention to it. Maybe, I don't know. But if he really does care about the truth, the actual truth of what's out there in totality, not just this object and that one, everything in the sky. If he really wants the truth, then you need them to look at everything. They're not going to look at the UFO alien aspects. So he's wrapping it in as a part of the threat matrix of unknown stuff from the sky.
Right. But consider that Travis Taylor is a TV personality. He's used to kind of both leveraging science and a sense of humor and being a TV personality. And even on Skinwalker Ranch, he says that he has seen real UAP lights in the sky and filmed them. So potentially we've seen a flip in him into believing in potentially extraterrestrials. And yet when he came out with his statement, we heard nothing about that. And yes, he was talking about the recent intrusions, but we still have 3 unexplained objects. And I just want to highlight the fact that I didn't hear anything except threat narrative coming from our, UAP task force chief officer and at the same rate, a scientist. So, and remember, TV personality. So people are considering his opinion here and perhaps hearing him say things like nuke on board of balloon. And, that's like 10.
But that's probably the TV personality side of it. He's trying, because if he gives you a list of the worst possible things that are going to show up in the search bar, that I'm not saying that's what's going on, but I'm saying you at least have to open the possibility then that that's what he's doing. Right. Because now if I say, oh, because everybody else talked about the nuke, the balloons. Oh, were they monitoring us? Were they doing this? And now all of a sudden this dude comes out and says, dude, they might have had nukes. That article is gaining traction. That tweet's gaining traction. You know what I mean? Like, so that might be the entertainment side of him understanding, because it could have had anything up to like half a ton that you could have put like a Tesla on the thing if you took the battery out of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much possibility. So to list them, to itemize the worst case scenarios like that is to grab attention, because you want people to understand the depth of what you're saying, or at least pay attention to you.
Right. I always feel like that sensationalism is so dangerous in the UFO topic, right? Because
it's already sensational.
Yeah.
You don't need to exaggerate it.
Right. It's just disappointing, I think, because that sensationalism is such poison when we have absolutely no idea about the actual UFO. But, it's being painted that way because of how we're operating with UAP and balloon, that whole thing. It's just, they've done a really good job of mixing up the waters over the past 4 years to 7 years, right?
I feel like what we're going to see next is in the next few months, maybe next 2 weeks, the story's going away. It'll come up again because there'll be some kind of congressional inquiry or something that they could put on a show about, ask for funding. You'll hear about it again then. And then I think for the most part, the stuff's going to chill out. I think it's going to take a break. And I'll bet you not much comes out. And we're going to be hanging on every word of the weaponized podcast for most of our bombshells from here on out, I'm guessing until summer.
Do you foresee any more takedowns of unidentified objects?
I would be shocked. Because here's why. They've already come out and said, okay, we adjusted our sensors, we did this, we did that. So now it's been like a week since anything got shot, right? So if something shows up again, that means they missed it again. Highly unlikely that's going to happen. Even if it actually happened.
Unless, Joe Schultz over in San Diego doesn't film another one, or somebody.
Yeah, I mean.
In Detroit.
I don't know. I know with a lot of these things, it's just airspace is classified pretty much up to 60,000 feet, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why the balloon, the first one, the professional quote unquote spy balloon, was set at 65,000. Okay. Because we don't actually have limits. There's no real rules on how high you need to be above a country before you're considered. Like, it's everybody has their own opinions. I know that the military years back, they asked to make 65,000 to like 200,000 feet military use or something along those lines, because it's not actually classified. In the old days, the highest flying civilian plane we had was the Concorde. That got close to 60,000 feet. And I think that's why they settled on 60,000 feet as controlled airspace. But that one being at 65,000, that was like a bell to me. That was intentional where it was set, because then civilian air traffic would ignore it no matter what, spotted or not. So that takes part of the equation out, right? These other ones in direct controlled airspace, that just seems crazy to me. It doesn't seem, there's no way a country would have done that intentionally. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And also, very quickly, in Travis Taylor's comment there, he kind of highlighted the fact that we have that region in our atmosphere between 50,000 to 100,000 feet where we don't really have defense systems designed to take down things that kind of are in that area. Do you feel like things are kind of that potentially adversaries could have things in that area because it's in a gray area in our military's view?
Well, what do you mean we can't?
Well,
what
it's
do you mean we
between
can't
Space
take it?
Force and the Navy. You know, it's kind of like in this strip of airspace where it's nobody's real purview. It's nobody's business to know what's there. It's above the airplane, so it's cool. But yet, Space Force is like, it's below our interest. And so it seems like things potentially can linger there without actually being interacted with. And on top of that, the military came out saying that small things are hard to deal with, you know? And so it's kind of like, who do we have to deal with that?
I got to ask you a question. Who says we can't shoot over 60,000 feet?
Oh, no. Not saying that. I don't think that was the quote.
Oh.
Just no. So that certain regions in our atmosphere are under certain purview or arms of our government. So above, so the region in our atmosphere from 50 to 100,000 feet. Okay, no, so 65,000 to 100,000 and above. Okay, I'm trying to read my notes here very quickly. So
no
Space
worries.
Force was just saying that this whole incident was not in their purview. So it was not like they were sharing information to help coordinate, but at the same rate, they had no statement when it came to this topic.
Right.
And so this kind of landed in the Navy's, hands or the Air Force or, whoever dealt with it. So let's just leave it there at this moment. But it seemed like there was a gray area in our aerospace where things could tactically be a problem. Does that exist in your eyes?
No. And the reason, I'll just tell you this without saying a word about our stuff. The Russians have surface air missiles that can hit 110 from 0 to 110,000 feet. The Russians. What do you think we have? So I'll just leave that at that.
Yeah.
Without saying a single word about our capabilities.
It was interesting to see the position from Space Command to just be like, we're helping out, but we have no statement on this.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think they're just trying not to show any hands, and they know it's probably all BS or some form of BS that's a nothing burger to them because they're worried about space and satellites and the Air Force. The Air Force is all over the balloon shoot down game.
Good.
On that note, guys,
it's been fun. Thanks for staying up
here because I do have to get up in the morning and get my stuff done that I need to do. So I wanted to remind everybody that this weekend we will have the Cryptid Hunters, Jessica Jones in 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Pacific, or 10 p.m. Eastern, pardon me, for the Cryptid Off the Trails. Then After Hours with Grant, Marquise, Danielle, and Nick on Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune on in for that. And I want to say a big thank you tonight to W. David Page, Lala, Cat Chaser, Lara, Deb Neuro, Science Bob, Pam H, Zen 2, Pam S, Zaname times 3, Jenny, Margot, Jeff, Squirrel, Christopher, Mark, Louie, and Derek for the amazing super chats. Wonderful way to support what we do. If you haven't already, guys, we'd love to see you in Las Vegas. Come meet Random Guy, come meet Little Timmy Senor, and many others at our fan party May 19th through 21st of this year at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas. And Derek, thank you again for another super chat. Very, very appreciative. If you haven't got an email yet, I will make sure from Kat that you do get one here very, very soon, confirming. We're a little behind on that right now, but we're going to make sure that everybody is there for a good time. If you're hemming and hawing, debating whether or not you're going to go, April 1st is when we are cutting off our VIP tickets. April 1st. So that time is winding down, but we need time to set up all the swag bags for you guys. Big thank you, Random Guy and Tim, for another great show. Everyone,
Thanks, boys.
see you on Monday. And
Sounds good.
Stay healthy, my friend.
you too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.